Chapter 701. Ao-chun, we meet again. I can't believe that the cursed technique from back then didn't take your life. Di-Shirtian glanced at Ao-chun, who was full of arrogance, as if there was no one in the world who could make him lower his head, and said with a faint smile. Di-Shirtian. It was a simple sentence, but in an instant, it made Ao-chun's face change greatly. His face became completely gloomy. He looked at Sakura as if he wanted to swallow him whole. He gnashed his teeth in anger. His face was full of resentment. A strong murderous intent turned into thousands of invisible swords of murderous intent and swept toward Yemo. However, Di-Shirtian stood on the spot. It was as if everything within 100 feet of him belonged to him, and he was the master of the universe. As soon as the invisible swords entered this area, they were instantly crushed into powder. They couldn't reach him at all. Good, good, good. The voice seemed to burst out from between his teeth. At this moment, all the arrogance was thrown to the back of his mind. Ao-chun's face was cold, as if frost was about to form. He said coldly, "So it's you. Today, I will settle the score with you. I will pierce your heart with thousands of swords. My soul will be imprisoned in the 9 underworld's abyss, and my body will be eroded by the cold wind every day. I will return the pain I suffered back then to you 1,000 times, no, 10,000 times." Ao-chun's tone was filled with hatred that couldn't be washed away by the 3 rivers and the 4 seas. It was an unforgettable life and death enemy. Back then, in the heaven-reaching tower, Di-Shirtian used the withered glory curse technique on Ao-chun. Ao-chun had almost been sent to see his ancestral master, who had devoured his boundless life essence and turned him from a young man into a white-haired old man. If it weren't for the various methods and abilities in the Heavenly Sword Valley, he was afraid that he would have lost his life under this curse technique. "Then I will kill you first," Di-Shirtian said again, which almost made Ao-chun vomit blood. "Myriad sword diagram. Blast you to smithereens." Ao-chun's eyes turned red. His body shook, and hundreds of millions of sharp sword chi gushed out from his pores, turning his body into a sword domain. The sword domain converged and intertwined above his head to form a picture of 10,000 swords. Various kinds of swords appeared in the picture. The raging flame sword, the Gungjin sword, the soft water sword, the thick earth sword, the greenwood sword, the ice sword, the wind sword, the lightning sword. All of them glittered with dazzling sword energy. It was as if all sorts of swords in the world had been condensed into this sword diagram. Boom, boom. All kinds of sword lights intertwined and rushed out of the sword diagram, turning into a storm of 10,000 swords. With a violent destructive force, it swept towards Di-Shirtian like a tornado. Around the storm of 10,000 swords, the void was cut into billions of pieces by countless sword lights. Because the sword lights were different, they formed a storm that released all kinds of colors, creating a fantastic scene. The myriad sword diagram condensed from the domain suddenly erupted with a terrifying might that could grind immortal emperors into dust. "I will trample you to death today." Di-Shirtian exuded an intense fighting spirit and killing intent. It was a consummate battle technique, the 8 desolation steps. 1 step, 2 steps, 3 steps. It was as if there was an invisible staircase in the void, and each step he took caused the space beneath his feet to shatter. He crossed the void, and everywhere he passed, the void collapsed as if it had been blown by millions of tons of explosives. Bam! He took a 4th step. He stepped on the edge of the storm of 10,000 swords. The true power of the Imperial Plane, as well as the violent power that had been condensed from the previous 3 steps, poured down with a terrifying might that could crush mountains and rivers. Beneath his feet, it was as if the scenery of mountains and rivers really did appear. Domineering power poured out, and the countless sword lights at the edge of the storm were instantly destroyed. Another step. His 5th step was in the air above the storm of swords, and the sword lights collapsed. The roaring momentum of the storm of swords was stopped. Rumble. After the 5th step, he didn't stop. Instead, he took a 6th step. This time, Beautiful mountains and rivers appeared beneath his feet, and it seemed to contain the power of mountains and rivers as it rumbled toward the storm. The void was shaking violently. The terrifying storm of swords hadn't completely erupted with its infinite destructive power. It was trampled to the point of collapsing. As it collapsed, hundreds of millions of sword lights burst out in all directions. They landed on the ground. Countless sharp sword marks were drawn on the ground. Like a spider web, they were densely distributed on every inch of the ground. How is this possible? Ao Chen's face was full of disbelief. The myriad sword illustration, which was condensed from the domain, released a storm of swords that could directly destroy a minor kiliocosm. But it was actually destroyed by a few steps. He was sure that even a celestial emperor would have to temporarily avoid the storm of swords. If it was swept in, it could crush the physical body of a celestial emperor. Terrifying, too terrifying. A kind of disbelief emerged in his heart. A celestial emperor. He was a celestial emperor. He thought that his cultivation base was enough to wash away the humiliation. However, when the storm of swords was destroyed by a single step, his confidence was ruthlessly trampled on at the same time. With your strength, you dare to say that you can expel the cultivators of all heavens. You are arrogant, right? Today, I will trample on your arrogance. What successor of the sky, Sword Valley? You deserve to be called a peerless genius. You are simply ignorant. Seal mirror, suppress. Di Shirtian sneered disdainfully. With a flash of light, the seal mirror appeared in his hand. With a thought, the imperial true force in his body quickly poured into the mirror. Swish! The mirror instantly lit up, emitting bursts of holy light. It flew up into the air and appeared above Ao Chen's head in a flash. The mirror shook, and countless mysterious magic charms emerged from it. They condensed together and transformed into snow-white iron chains. They dashed towards Ao Chen to tie him up. Each iron chain contained a strong sealing power. The sealing chains were as flexible as spiritual snakes. They shuttled through the void and rushed toward Ao Chen from all kinds of tricky angles. Be careful. That's a sealing treasure. Meng Yao's expression changed slightly, and she quickly reminded Ao Chen. Although Ao Chen was arrogant and not likable, he was still a disciple of the 10 great immortal sects after all. Seeing the danger, he couldn't help but secretly help. So what if you know that it's a sealing treasure? If I say I'm going to seal you, then I'm going to seal you. Di Shirtian sneered. He formed a seal with his hand, and the talismans gushing out from the mirror grew larger. In the blink of an eye, they formed 9 sealing chains that bound Ao Chen. Green Lotus Sword Song, Sword Chi Protection. Ao Chen's heart tightened. After all, he still had a strong fighting strength. With a thought, green sword chi gushed out from his body. Countless green lotus sword chi quickly condensed outside his body and condensed into green lotuses. As the lotuses rotated, the sword chi shot out in all directions and slashed towards the sealing chains. Bang! 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 The green lotus sword chi could be said to be a peerless martial art in the world. Its sharpness was limitless, and it instantly cut the sealing chain into countless pieces. However, the strange thing was that although the sealing chain was broken, it did not completely collapse. Instead, it collapsed again, and countless sealing talismans passed through the cracks of the sword chi. It appeared around Ao Chen and reformed into a sealing chain. Clang! There was a soft sound. The snow-white chains instantly bound Ao Chen's body. The moment they bound him, a vast sealing power gushed out from the chains and poured into Ao Chen's body. He wanted to seal all of his cultivation and skills. Green Lotus Dao, invincible. At this moment, Ao Chen finally felt the threat of death. In front of the vast sealing power, he was like a broken boat in the ocean. He was unusually small. He knew that once the sealing power entered his body, he would immediately lose his cultivation and be at the mercy of others. He glared at Di Shirtian fiercely. Then, he used the defensive technique of Sky Sword Valley. Swoosh! 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 From the countless pores on his body, All the sword chi in his body erupted in an instant and turned into wisps of pure green lotus sword chi. They intertwined in a strange way and completely wrapped his body in sword chi. They intertwined and condensed into a huge green lotus. The green lotus seemed to be real. It emitted a mysterious light. Ao-chan sat cross-legged in the green lotus with his eyes closed. He had fallen into a deep sleep. This was a protective secret technique of the Sky Sword Valley. It would release all of one's cultivation and dharma power to condense the green lotus. The price was that one would fall into a deep sleep, under the protection of this green lotus. Unless it was an expert who was one realm higher than the green lotus, no one would be able to forcibly break the green lotus. With the cultivation of a celestial emperor, one would have to reach the peak of the ancient giant to break it open. Do you think you can escape like this? Seal the treasured mirror. Seal it for me. The sealing mirror that was suspended in the air spun and suddenly dived down, emitting a dazzling divine light. It swept Ao-chan and the green lotus he had transformed into the mirror. The mirror flew back to Ao-chan. He opened it to take a look. Shockingly, the image of Ao-chan appeared on the first page of the mirror. A powerful sealing force suppressed him and sealed him within the mirror. Everything happened in the blink of an eye. Since Di Shirtian and Ao-chan began to fight, a series of skills were displayed one after another. All the experts on the island were unable to take their eyes off them, for fear of missing any moment. Fast, unbelievably fast. When they saw that Ao-chan was suppressed and sealed by Di Shirtian with a strange treasure, the entire island suddenly fell silent. There was not a trace of sound, as if the world had fallen into a terrible silence in an instant. Fierce, too fierce. In an instant, he had suppressed and sealed an outstanding disciple of the 10 great immortal sects, a celestial emperor. He was a celestial emperor, an expert who stood at the top of the universe. However, he had been directly suppressed and sealed. This kind of action really shocked everyone present. One by one, they couldn't help but feel a bone-chilling coldness in their hearts. Looking at Di Shirtan, who was standing in the air, even if he didn't say a word, he was naturally enveloped in a vast and unparalleled ferocious aura. Unparalleled Emperor's aura. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 702. Monthly tickets are in short supply. Those with tickets, please help me. So fierce. An immortal emperor was suppressed just like that. My goodness, that was an outstanding disciple of the 10 major immortal sects. I can tell from a storm of 10,000 sword that his combat strength surpassed that of an ordinary immortal emperor. But he was destroyed by the demon emperor with just a few stomps. He was suppressed just like that. I thought there would be a big battle. Fierce, too fierce. Sure enough, the demon emperor is still the demon emperor. No wonder he could fight the demon god clan head-on in the demon world and kill billions of demonic beasts. It seems that the demon race is really going to rise. What's that book? A sealing treasure? It was so powerful that it actually sucked Ao-chan in and suppressed him inside. A sealing treasure that can suppress an immortal emperor. It's rare in the world. If it's taken out, I'm afraid even peerless experts would exchange treasures for it. The power of sealing is one of the most bizarre powers in the world. After a moment of silence, there was an uproar. The All Heavens experts looked at Di Shirtian in horror. At the same time, all kinds of discussions were heard. Her impression of him in her heart continued to rise time and time again. He's a good opponent. Shura Zhantian looked at Di Shirtan with a strong fighting spirit in his eyes, and a thought emerged in his mind. If he can continue to grow, our star tribe may have a rare ally. When the time comes, the two tribes will join hands, and even the immeasurable calamity can be overcome. A thought also flashed through Xingyi's mind. Meng Tianqi looked at Di Shirtian, and his pupils shrank violently. Fairy Meng Yao, Senior Brother Golden Cicada, Senior Brother Phone. The 10 major immortal sects are united. Please save senior brother Ao Chun. The Sky Sword Valley will definitely thank you. The disciples of the Sky Sword Valley who had been following Ao Chun turned pale. They hurriedly asked Meng Yao and the other two for help, hoping that they would help save him on account of the fact that they were all from the 10 major immortal sects. Evildoers should be punished by everyone, Feng Zhini said righteously. Buddha above, please release junior brother Ao Chun. This humble monk greets you. The golden cicada was still as kind as ever. He put his palms together and bowed slightly. His monk robe fluttered, even though there was no wind. Wisps of Buddhist light suddenly appeared. Meng Yao greets the Demon King. Meng Yao held the holy jade bottle in her hand and looked at Di Shurtian quietly. Obviously, due to the relationship between the 10 great immortal sects, it was impossible for them to sit idly by and watch Ao Chun be suppressed. Oof, what a joke. Di Shurtian sneered at the humans and said, "You are humans, and I am a demon. Humans and demons cannot coexist. I suppressed Ao Chun because I was stronger than him. If you want me to release him, you don't have that much face. Who do you think you are? The 6 ancestors of Taoism or the 3 Buddhas of Buddhism? If you want Ao Chun, sure. But let's see if you have what it takes." Holding the ceiling mirror in his hand, he was sucked in. Even an ancient giant would be suppressed. He was not afraid of what Ao Chun could do. Amateus Buddha. Golden Cicada's expression changed slightly. He chanted the name of Buddha and flipped his right hand toward Di Shurtian. As he flipped his hand, the entire Buddha's hand suddenly became incomparably deep and emitted a strange, devouring force. It was as if the Buddha's hand contained a vast and boundless world. It wanted to suck everything in the surroundings into the Buddha's hand. Waves of strange prayers and Sanskrit chants continuously sounded from a palm. Buddhism's divine ability, Buddhist kingdom in a palm. Listening to the Sanskrit chants made people want to betray Buddhism. The Buddha's hand was not big, but it had a terrifying concept that enveloped the entire world under its palm. It was impossible to hide. Once one fell and was sucked into the Buddha's hand, it would be even more impossible to escape. With a casual squeeze, the Buddhist kingdom would be destroyed. At the same time, everything in the Buddhist kingdom would be annihilated, including those sucked in. This was Buddhism's unparalleled divine ability. Attacking Di Shurtian, it was obvious that it wanted to suck him into the Buddhist kingdom in its hand. Extreme Emperor Seal. Celestial Demon Seal. I'll destroy your Buddhist kingdom. Di Shurtian brazenly attacked. With a thought, the divine ability talisman in the Black Lotus trembled violently. A divine ability surged and poured into his hand, quickly forming a celestial demon seal. The ancient seal was strengthened by the power of 3,000 celestial demons. There were countless celestial demons flying around the ancient seal. The extreme Emperor seal had always been strengthened with the increase of one's cultivation base. Its power was also constantly evolving. With his current cultivation base, it could destroy the world. Rumble. The celestial demon seal hit the Buddhist kingdom. Suddenly, the boundless godly demon force and the golden Buddha light burst out and collided with each other crazily. The two peerless divine powers shook the void, and countless cracks appeared. From the cracks, countless violent and chaotic forces gushed out. The deafening explosion almost deafened the ears of the surrounding experts. After a violent collision, the Buddhist kingdom was destroyed by the ancient seal. Humph! Golden Cicada's attack instantly ignited Di Shurtian's battle intent. Dragons had reversed scales, and those who touched them would die. The body of an emperor was incomparably noble. Anyone who attacked would be disobeying. Disobeying. Should be killed, and should be poked. With a fierce look, he said with supreme majesty, "I won't just suppress Ao Chun. I will suppress all of you." His body was overflowing with the supreme emperor's aura. Extreme Emperor Seal. Sakura waved his hand and heavily smashed down towards Golden Cicada. A peerless imperial seal carrying the majesty of an emperor suppressed over with a loud rumble. It was as if an ancient emperor could destroy a world with a flip of his hand. In this void, he was the heavens. He merged with the world and carried the might of the heavens. Boundless power poured down in torrents. Buddha's palm, Buddha's light appears. Golden Cicada only felt that when the ancient seal fell, it was as if the entire world was pressing down on him in an instant, wanting to crush him into powder. Under this terrifying heavenly aura, he was like an ant. He couldn't help but be shocked, but he didn't hesitate. With a wave of his hand, he blasted out Buddhism's peerless battle technique, Buddha's palm. Billions of Buddha's light suddenly burst out, instantly condensing into a huge Buddha's palm. Countless Sanskrit chants rang out, drawing the power of heaven and earth to attack the ancient seal. Rumble. The terrifying collision once again erupted with boundless destructive power, and in the midst of the endless violent power, three strange black gases wrapped around Golden Cicada at a strange speed. Under the cover of the violent collision, they wrapped around Golden Cicada at lightning speed. The black gases were filled with an evil aura. They were very fast, even faster than lightning. Oh no, this change came abruptly. By the time he saw it, it was already in front of him. Golden Cicada cursed in his heart. With a thought, countless mysterious Sanskrit words appeared on his Kasaya, releasing a shocking Buddha's light that protected his body. However, he was still a step too slow. The protective Kasaya only blocked two of the black gases, but one of them rushed into his body in an instant. Once that black gas entered his body, it immediately scattered into his flesh and blood. At the same time, Golden Cicada felt his vision suddenly turn black, and he suddenly fell into darkness. He couldn't see anything at all. Cursed technique, heaven's blindness. No matter how powerful one's cultivation was, when one suddenly fell into darkness and lost their sight, there was a flaw in one's body. Sealed treasure mirror, seal for me. D. Shirtion shouted, and the seal mirror opened up instantly. It expanded violently and covered Golden Cicada, wanting to seal him in the mirror. Ha! Lunatic D, seal them all in the mirror. If these outstanding disciples of the 10 immortal sects were all suppressed, it would be a heavy slap to the face of the human race. I'm afraid those people from the immortal sects would be so angry that their noses would be crooked, Ming shouted excitedly. Senior brother, be careful. However, just as the seal mirror was about to completely envelop Golden Cicada, a bamboo suddenly appeared under the mirror and whipped it. The bamboo emitted waves of strange, benevolent power, and it sent the mirror flying. Not far away, Meng Yao was holding a stalk of bamboo in her hand. The leaves on the stalk were clearly visible. There was a mysterious power faintly circulating in the bamboo, as if it carried the mighty power of the heavenly Tao. It emitted waves of golden light. The power of merit. Ming couldn't help but exclaim, where did such a huge amount of power of merit come from? The protection of the power of merit can't be invaded by evil. Could it be that the pristine jade bottle is filled with the power of merit? Merit was a good thing. As long as one had merit, it would be almost impossible for evil to invade. Moreover, if one could calm one's mind and focus, it would be of great help to one's comprehension of the realm. Moreover, as long as one had enough merit, they could use the power of merit to strengthen their own cultivation and could instantly raise an ordinary person to infinite heights. Even a mortal emperor or an ancient powerhouse could do the same. Even if one died with the power of merit, one would be able to maintain their consciousness. However, although merit was good, it was difficult to cultivate. The simplest way was to do good deeds and contribute to heaven and earth would bestow merit. Unfortunately, it was abnormally difficult to continue. I don't care if you have merit or not. Suppress all of them. D. Shirtion strode across the void, holding the seal mirror in his hand, and used a peerless battle technique. 8 desolation steps. With 7 consecutive steps, his cultivation instantly surged like a tide, and he suddenly became an ancient heavenly demon. The boundless royal true power was frantically channeled into the treasure mirror. Suppress. Suppress all of them. He had to be strong. He had to be strong to the end. He had to show his ferocity, supreme power, and the dominance of an emperor. The human race wasn't the only one coveting the sacred reincarnation spirit tree. Currently, the cultivators of the heavens had no choice but to gather because of the human race's power. Once the human race was suppressed and this powerful deterrence was gone, it would probably be the 100 races in the heavens fighting among themselves. From friends to enemies. Under the temptation of the reincarnation tree, anyone would be tempted. Tion was no exception. If he wanted to monopolize the sacred reincarnation spirit tree, how could ordinary means achieve his goal? To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 703. Whether it was Azurajan Tian, Xing He, or Meng Tianxi, almost every one of them had the battle prowess of an immortal emperor. The foundation of the 100 races was not something that anyone could belittle. Since the ancient times, they had plundered countless treasures and cultivated the younger generation. Their battle prowess was definitely not ordinary. If it wasn't necessary, Tion didn't want to completely fall out with the 100 races. Although the demon race was once the overlords of the ancient times, the past was the past. If he really forced all the 100 races to the opposite side of his enemies, then even if the demon race had the potential to rise again, they would be completely annihilated under the wrath of the 100 races. He was a demon emperor. To put it nicely, he was a demon emperor. To put it bluntly, in the eyes of the peerless experts, he was a little demon who wasn't even a sky demon. Who was he? If I give you face, you're the demon emperor. If I don't, you're nothing. After all, potential is just potential. If I really want to, I'll stab you to death right now. If he really wanted to completely stand against the 100 races, then he would be taking the fate of the entire demon race as a joke. As a demon emperor, Tion naturally wouldn't be so reckless and unwise. Since he couldn't completely fall out with the 100 races, the only way to seize the sacred reincarnation spirit tree was to use his incomparable strength to intimidate all the cultivators of the heavens. It wouldn't take too long, just a moment, a chance, and he would be able to use his means to obtain the sacred reincarnation spirit tree. And to intimidate all the experts, there was no better deterrent than suppressing all the leaders of the younger generation of the 10 great immortal sects of the human race. Therefore, no matter what, he had to suppress all of them. His body surged with boundless chi. His feet moved like a dragon and tiger. Waves of the imperial true force in his body went completely berserk, pushing his cultivation base to the sky demon realm in an instant. The power of Dharma characteristics. His tiger body shook. Behind him, 66 godlike Dharma characteristics in various forms danced continuously in the void behind him. Waves of vast Dharma characteristics instantly poured into his body and into the treasure seal in his hand. For a moment, the sky demon's violent true power, coupled with the boundless power of the law idol, all poured into the treasure mirror. Immediately, the sealing treasure unleashed its unparalleled power to seal everything. The treasure mirror instantly enlarged and hung in the sky above the island. A snow-white vortex appeared in the treasure mirror, and the vortex spun violently. It emitted a tyrannical devouring force that wanted to suck in the entire world. It was like a black hole. It directly enveloped Golden Cicada, Meng Yao, and Feng Zhini. At the same time, they could clearly feel a terrifying power binding their bodies, making it difficult for them to even move. It was as if their bodies were about to be lifted into the air and sucked into the vortex above their heads. Merciful Samsara, virtuous golden lotus, Meng Yao's calm face couldn't help but change. She knew that once she was sucked into the treasure mirror, she would be sealed on the spot like Ao Chun. She hurriedly performed a spiritual art. Her clothes fluttered without any wind, and a holy divine light circulated around her body. Behind her head, a golden light burst forth and turned into a golden halo. After the circle of light appeared, it started to spin and emit strands of golden divine light. In an instant, it enveloped his entire body. She was bathed in the divine light. Below her, a golden light flashed, and a golden lotus platform instantly appeared under her feet. The sixth-grade golden lotus also emitted wisps of virtuous divine light. Inside it, there seemed to be countless mysterious golden talismans intertwined and condensed together. Bathed in the divine light, Meng Yao was like a holy deity. He forcefully blocked the devouring power from the mirror outside his body. The virtuous saint wheel, virtuous golden lotus. This is impossible. The virtuous saint wheel can't be helped by the outside world. It has to be done by oneself with countless virtuous deeds and obtain immeasurable virtuous deeds before it can be condensed on its own. Could it be that she has done something that has contributed to the entire world? Or is she the reincarnation of a powerhouse with great virtuous deeds? And that virtuous golden lotus is actually refined into a sixth-grade golden lotus with the power of virtuous deeds. Where did this Meng Yao come from? Originally, it had thought that the virtuous deeds emitted by the tranquil bamboo were absorbed by the jade bottle. Now, it seemed that she had the virtuous deeds herself. The virtuous deeds protected her body and made her invulnerable. Sarira, golden body. The golden cicada was under the spell. His vision was pitch black, but he could feel the changes around him. He hurriedly shouted, and the Buddhist light on his body flickered. A fist-sized Sarira flew out from the top of his head. The Sarira turned into golden water and fell on his body. His entire body instantly shone with golden light, and he turned into a golden Arhat golden body that seemed to be cast from gold. A vast Buddhist aura circulated around his body. His hands quickly formed a series of afterimages in front of him, and he formed the Buddhist divine art, Demon Slayer Divine Thunder. Suddenly, golden lightning beads quickly condensed in front of him. 9 of them connected and condensed into a lightning arrow. He pushed it heavily toward the treasure mirror above his head and blasted it out. Rumble. Demon Slayer Divine Thunder, slaying gods and destroying demons. It was the Buddhist sect's supreme demon-slaying technique. If this were to hit the island, it would directly blast the thousands of feet of island into smithereens. Now it blasted toward the treasure mirror and rushed into the whirlpool, wanting to blast the whirlpool apart. However, countless sealing talismans flew out from the treasure mirror and wrapped around the terrifying divine thunder. Circle after circle, the vast sealing power actually sealed the demon slayer divine thunder. Righteous chi exists in heaven and earth. Demons and demons, retreat. Feng Zhenyi's entire body was filled with righteous chi. He shouted loudly, and the vast righteous chi in heaven and earth seemed to be strangely attracted by something and instantly gathered toward him. Above his head, it condensed into a snow-white sword of righteous chi. On the sword's body, the shocking warning of the Song of Righteousness appeared. It was like the sword of heaven. The sword slashed forward with a loud bang. Under the vast righteous chi, all strange forces dissipated strangely like snowflakes in summer. Under Eye's treasure mirror, your resistance is nothing more than ants resisting the heavens. The seal is boundless. All of you get in. Sakura appeared on the treasure mirror and stepped on it. He sneered as he looked at the methods of the 3 people. He stomped his foot heavily, and instantly, the treasure mirror was like a huge seal. It brought along an endless devouring power and fell down with a loud bang. Bang! Under the support of the 8 desolation steps and Dharma power, Tian was incomparably powerful at this moment. He had completely activated the power of the sealing treasure mirror to the extreme. The divine light shook. The entire island shook violently. Countless cracks appeared, as if it would completely collapse at any time. When the divine light dissipated, he looked around again. He saw that Meng Yao, Feng Zhenyi, and the golden cicada had strangely disappeared, and the sealing treasure mirror was suspended in midair. On the treasure mirror, Rays of divine light rippled like flowing water. Countless mighty forces flickered violently. Smack! He reached out and grabbed the treasure mirror in his hand, but it was shaking violently, bursting with waves of intense struggle, as if there was something inside that was constantly attacking the treasure mirror. The terrifying power almost made the treasure mirror jump out of his hand. The treasure mirror expanded and shrunk at times, looking extremely strange. Suppress it. Tion didn't even think about it. The ninth tier black lotus in his body revolved crazily. Waves of royal true force poured into the treasure mirror like a tidal wave, forcefully suppressing the frightening backlash coming from within. Meng Yao and the other two were really worthy of being called geniuses. Each of them had their own unique abilities, and even the treasure mirror could not suppress them. Quick! Lunatic D, quickly put the reincarnation sacred spirit tree into your inner world. Take this opportunity to leave this place quickly. Ming saw that the three people were suppressed and hurriedly shouted. This was a place of trouble. Hiss! Waves of horrified voices rang out. Although he had only exchanged blows with Meng Yao and the other two for a short period of time before he was forcefully suppressed by Tion in the treasure mirror. However, in those few breaths of time, all kinds of shocking divine abilities had shaken the minds of those who were watching and dazzled them. Great waves rolled up in their hearts. Shocking. An invisible deterrent force shocked these experts to the point that they could not even move their feet. It was as if a great beast was staring at them coldly. The virtuous saint wheel. How many virtuous deeds does one have to do to condense it? How many virtuous deeds has Meng Yao Fairy done? Could she be the reincarnation of 10 good people? She can even cultivate the golden body of Arhat of Buddhism. It is said that once the golden body of Bodhi is cultivated, it will be immortal and indestructible. It is a shortcut to becoming an eternal giant. The sword of righteousness, the awe-inspiring righteousness of heaven and earth, is the nemesis of all evil. These three are indeed the true geniuses of the younger generation. However, they were all suppressed by the Demon Emperor. What kind of earth-shattering strength has the Demon Emperor reached to be able to suppress the geniuses? This kind of means is too terrifying. However, the treasure mirror of sealing is really a rare treasure. If I have one, maybe I can also suppress the geniuses. Meng Yao Fairy and the other two's strength could be seen by these experts. Even if it was just a brief moment, it let them know that their combat strength had surpassed ordinary immortal emperors, and they definitely had the ability to become geniuses. One should know that in the Great Era, anyone could be called a genius, but the real geniuses were those young men with unparalleled combat strength. Only those who grew to the end would be the real peerless geniuses. They were recognized by the experts of all heavens. Now, these three people had been recognized by the experts here. However, such people were fiercely suppressed by Tion. What kind of person could suppress geniuses? For a moment, no one made any other move due to the terrifying emperor pressure. Heavenly punishment divine, spiritual root extraction, taking advantage of this moment. Sakura quickly opened his divine eye of heavenly punishment between his eyebrows. A beam of dazzling purple gold divine light shot out from his divine eye and instantly enveloped the entire sacred reincarnation spirit tree, which was thousands of feet tall in divine light. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 704. Unknowingly. It's already close to 700 chapters. Haha. I'll try to break through to 700 chapters tomorrow. Those with monthly votes, please help me. Oh no. He wants to take away the reincarnation tree. It's a connate spirit root. He wants to monopolize it. No, we can't let him monopolize it. So what if he's a demon emperor? There are countless experts in the various heavens. We're not afraid of him. Stop him. We can't let him take away the reincarnation sacred spirit tree. Tian shrouded the entire reincarnation tree with his divine light. He wanted to take it into his inner world so that it could accommodate the sacred spirit tree. His action of taking it away instantly enraged all the cultivators in the various heavens. Under the temptation of the sacred spirit tree, they no longer cared about their previous deterrents. They all shouted and took out their Dharma treasures and divine weapons. They all bombarded Tian. You want to monopolize the reincarnation tree? You're looking down on me. Take my axe. Meng Tianchi glared and waved his right hand. He grabbed the golden axe on his back and swung it fiercely at Tian. Crack! Immediately, a golden axe light tore through the sky like lightning. The axe light was filled with a domineering aura of power. Wherever it passed, the space beneath the axe light was cut in half. It was as if the entire world would be cut in half by the axe light. The sharp edge made all the hair on Tian's body stand up instantly. They stood upright like steel needles. Humph! Seeing all kinds of magic weapons and spells bombarding him from all directions, Indra had a thought. The divine light in his eyes continued to cover the reincarnation tree. Under the cover of the divine light, the huge reincarnation tree shrank at a speed visible to the naked eye. At the same time, a light flashed in his hand. The pitch-black seven sins suddenly appeared in his hand. Ding-dong! He casually picked up the string inlaid with the earth's spiritual pearl. He waved it fiercely. Suddenly, a short sound of the zither shot into the sky. Circles of earthy yellow sound waves quickly spread out in all directions. They shrouded the entire island. The vast earth origin power instantly erupted. Boom! Boom! All of a sudden, the entire island shook violently, as if there was a magnitude 10 earthquake. Strange waves appeared on the ground, just like the sea. The terrifying vibrations were enough to shatter all the bones in the person who stepped on it. On the ground, huge earthen yellow divine dragons rushed out. They let out dragon roars and looked very lifelike. He exuded a vast dragon might. It rushed out of the ground and ferociously attacked the magic treasures in the sky. One dragon claw after another tore through the void. With a swing of the dragon tail, the void trembled. Every earth dragon had a combat strength close to that of a demon saint. All of the attacks were blocked. In the blink of an eye, they bombarded the all-heavens cultivators. Even the axe light was only able to sever the 3 divine dragons before it was blocked. With this buffer, the divine punishment divine light became even stronger. Under the divine light's illumination, the entire divine tree suddenly flew into the air and rose from the ground. It quickly shrank. As it shrank, it was rapidly sucked into the divine eye. Swoosh! Tian was not stingy with the true power in his body. In just a few breaths, the entire divine tree was sucked into the inner world of the divine eye. Seeing that he had seized the divine tree, Ming shouted excitedly, "Lunatic D, quickly enter the altar. Leave his place." The large number of divine dragons formed by the 7 sins were constantly blasted into powder. At this moment, there were only a few left on the island. Let's go. He didn't want to fight to the death with the all-heavens cultivators in the first place, so he naturally wouldn't remain here. Without a second thought, he shot towards the altar on the island like a flickering shadow. The moment he stepped onto the altar, a vast and mighty force erupted from the seal in his hand. With a boom, a large hole was blasted open, and 3 beams of divine light shot out from the seal. At the same time, a divine light flashed on the altar, and Tian's figure completely disappeared. Bang! He pointed a finger at a divine dragon's head. The power of the stars surged and destroyed the divine dragon inch by inch. It turned into soil and stone and fell to the ground. Looking at the island, all the earthen dragons had been destroyed. I didn't expect him to take the reincarnation divine spirit tree in the end. Xing seemed to be lost in thought, but he wasn't in a hurry to find him and take it back. He was very clear that even if he could seize this kind of treasure, it would probably be difficult to keep it in the Myriad Tribulation Cave. Who knows It might even cause a great disaster. Humph. Where do you think you're going? Meng Tianqi roared and opened his eyes wide in anger. How could he be willing to let Sakura leave? His entire body emitted a wild aura as he ferociously stomped on the ground, causing it to tremble. He rushed up the altar and chased after Sakura. The sound of the zither can trigger the origin of the earth. Interesting. This demon emperor lives up to his reputation. Interesting. Sooner or later, I'll find you for a one-on-one battle. Shurajan Tian stared at the altar, a faint smile appearing on his face. In his eyes, an intense battle intent could be seen. What he saw was actually Sakura's strength. He wanted to fight against him. Demon, how dare you take the treasure of heaven and earth? He deserves to be killed. He really deserves to be killed. The three divine lights that escaped from the treasure mirror landed on the ground and revealed the figures of Meng Yao and the other two. The three of them were strong enough to break the seal and escape from the treasure mirror. However, looking at their pale faces and clothes, they seemed to be in a sorry state. Obviously, escaping was not as easy as one would think. They must have paid a considerable price. Feng Zheni shouted with a face full of anger. Don't be too angry. Meng Yao took a deep breath and revealed a mysterious look. She smiled faintly and said, although the reincarnation divine spirit tree was taken away by him, whether he has the ability to use it is still a problem. It's not long before we attack the demon clan. In all the worlds, not many forces are willing to see the demon clan rise again. Amateus Buddha, Dishur Tian seized countless treasures in the God's Fall abyss and made countless forces jealous. I've also heard that many forces are showing signs of joining forces. Golden Cicada exuded an air of elegance. He said with a faint smile, but in his heart he was secretly pained. A relic bestowed by the Buddha was gone, just like that. Seeing that Indra had escaped with the sacred spirit tree of Samsara, the cultivators on the island naturally wouldn't stay any longer. They all rushed towards the altar, wanting to leave. After all, each of them was carrying precious treasures. If they were robbed, they wouldn't even be able to cry even if they wanted to. Who dared to stay any longer? Thump! Thump! Within the blood altar, heartbeat after heartbeat continuously sounded. Inside, the heartbeat of the young man lying on the altar became stronger and stronger. Streams of blood essence filled with power quickly fell into the altar and entered the young man's body. The blood essence seemed to carry the profound and boundless power of the ancient times. Fight for it, take it. I still need you juniors to buy time for me to be reborn and return to my peak. Compared to this old ancestor's rebirth, mere worldly possessions are not worth mentioning. When I return to my peak, I'll take them all back. A disdainful voice slowly reverberated from the blood altar. Everything that happened in the cave abode was under his control. Swoosh! Dishur Tian felt the scenery in front of him change. He stepped on a solid ground and quickly scanned his surroundings. Another one. Don't worry so much. Let's think of a way to enter the door of myriad tribulations. Legend has it that the door of myriad tribulations is a natal spirit treasure that the myriad tribulations forefather refined from a connate spirit embryo he found in the chaos. It's the fiercest treasure in the world. It's said that the myriad tribulations forefathers' cultivation methods are in the door of myriad tribulations. The myriad tribulations' mysterious art and the myriad tribulations' void Tao. Unfortunately, the door of myriad tribulations is too terrifying. Even immortal emperors can't get close. The moment they reach the door, they'll be crushed into meat paste by the pressure from the door. Even their souls will be scattered. It's too terrifying. I'm afraid even Emperor Realm experts can't get close to the door. Perhaps only venerables of the ancient era can enter. As expected, the myriad tribulations' forefathers' inheritance isn't something that anyone can obtain. Looking around, it was an island that stretched no less than 10,000 feet. In the air above the island, there was a pitch-black door suspended in midair. Looking at the edges of the door, there were mysterious runes formed by the power of calamity. If one looked at them carefully, they seemed to be able to devour one's mind and soul. countless terrifying calamities could be seen on the door, devouring one's soul. It shook one's courage. It was pitch black inside the door. It was as if a terrifying world was hidden inside. Standing in the air, it naturally emitted an ancient aura that suppressed the surroundings. It was like an ancient gate of heaven. No one dared to cross it. On the island, there was a large number of cultivators from all heavens standing around. Each of them emitted an unusually powerful aura. They had at least reached the immortal Lord realm. There were many of them. With a quick glance, there were no less than a few thousand of them. TSK, the door of myriad tribulations. I didn't expect to see it again. This is the real treasure that old fart myriad tribulations carried around with him. It was refined from the innate spirit embryo he obtained from the beginning. It grew and devoured countless treasures. In the ancient era, it had already become a top-grade innate spirit treasure. Its fierce name suppressed countless experts in the ancient era until they couldn't breathe. It seems that this is the most important place in the myriad tribulations cave abode. When Ming saw the door of myriad tribulations, there was a trace of melancholy in his eyes. Back then, his original body wasn't inferior to this door in any way. Not long ago, he had fallen to such a state. Perhaps all the treasures of that old fart myriad tribulations are in this door. The myriad tribulations heavenly pool, the myriad tribulations demon subduing pagoda, and the 5 spiritual pearls of heaven and earth might all be in this door. As he spoke, he couldn't help but swallow a mouthful of saliva. Myriad Tribulation Ancestor had plundered a large amount of treasures, and each of them were unparalleled treasures. If he casually took it out, it would be something that would make people break their heads to obtain it. However, this door is too terrifying. Lunatic D, you must not try it. This door has suppressed peerless experts before. When D. Shirtan heard this, he was even more shocked by myriad calamity ancestors' ferocious might in the ancient times. His eyes scanned his surroundings. Suddenly, his gaze froze. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 705. Tian Xiang. As he scanned the crowd, a familiar figure appeared in front of him. A woman wearing a white dress with a colorful ribbon on her arm suddenly appeared on the island along with a ray of divine light. A strange fragrance naturally wafted in all directions, and her body naturally emitted a kind of charm that could turn all living things upside down. Her face was covered with a snow-white veil, covering her beautiful face. On her shoulder stood an emperor phoenix with 3 divine feathers on its tail. Beside her was a little girl. The girl's eyes darted around, looking around randomly. She seemed to be exceptionally quick-witted. It's brother-in-law. The little girl's eyes suddenly widened. Seeing Di Shirtian standing at the edge of the crowd, she couldn't help but shout in surprise. Whoosh! As soon as she finished speaking, she saw a ray of colorful light streak across the sky, appearing beside Di Shirtian at a speed that was hard to see with the naked eye, and cheerfully flew in circles around him. She let out a crisp chirp, appearing unusually excited. After circling around him for an unknown number of times, she finally landed on his shoulder and affectionately pecked at his hair. Huh, you've grown up. Di Shirtian looked at Du, and a strange light flashed in his eyes. He could feel that there was a power hidden in her body that was no less than 100 times stronger than when he first entered the myriad tribulations cave abode. Moreover, the 3 divine feathers behind her were shining with divine light, and even he could faintly feel a trace of danger. It was as if all the divine light in the world was absorbed into the divine feathers. Strong, very strong. She probably already had a powerful battle strength that was not inferior to a 9th transformation demon core. Brother-in-law. A delicate figure jumped into his arms, and Zhuer called out with a smile, Zhuer looks like you. Brother-in-law, you don't know, but Zhuer was almost bullied by some bad guys. You didn't help me. If anyone dares to bully our Zhuer, tell brother-in-law, and brother-in-law will stand up for you. Di Shirtian heard this and looked at her with a faint smile. He was shocked once again. This little girl's cultivation had reached the 8th transformation demon core. Furthermore, there was a domineering flame hidden within his body. Obviously, he had a rather fortuitous encounter in the cave this time. Hee, brother-in-law, Zhu will tell you a secret. Zhu giggled as a crafty look flashed in the corner of her eyes. Suddenly, she moved her mouth close to Di Shirtian's ear and said, "Brother-in-law, Zhu saw a very handsome human cultivator trying to woo big sister Tianxiang. She pestered her sister, saying that she wanted to take her sister as a concubine. Brother-in-law, you have to be careful." What? Di Shirtian's eyes suddenly shot out 2 threatening beams of light. An inexplicable anger rose in his heart. It turned into flames that wanted to burn his divine soul. An intense killing intent rose in his heart, almost uncontrollably. "Zhu, what nonsense are you spouting?" Bai Hu, who was walking over, seemed to have heard Zhu words. Her face, which was covered by the veil, couldn't help but blush. She anxiously rolled her eyes at Zhu. She hurriedly said, "Shirtian, don't misunderstand. That was just a human expert who came out of nowhere. His cultivation was extremely high. I was entangled by him and couldn't get away at all. Fortunately, I had a fortuitous encounter later and got rid of him. There is nothing between me and him." Although she was anxious to explain, her innermost feelings were clearly revealed. If she didn't care about Di Shirtian's opinion, she wouldn't be nervous about whether he would misunderstand. Experts of the human race? Did he say who he was? Di Shirtian asked thoughtfully. Haha, Madman D, you have to be careful. Someone wants to steal your wife. Ming laughed and teased in the nether prison. I told you long ago that in this world, as long as you have the ability, strength, and status, it is very normal for you to have several wives and concubines. Moreover, you're cultivating the emperor's path. As a demon emperor and demon empress, Chunshi does indeed have the grace of a mother model. However, how can he not have a few demon concubines? In my opinion, this little fox's character and appearance are enough to be a demon concubine. He who strikes first gains the advantage, and he who strikes last suffers. Shut up. Di Shirtian scolded in his mind. I'm not too sure. Bai Hu frowned slightly and said thoughtfully, he seems to have said that he is the mansion master of Baiming Prefecture, carefree king. His cultivation is unfathomable. There seemed to be a trace of worry between her eyebrows. Baiming Prefecture? Carefree king? Di Shirtian muttered to himself as he frantically searched for these 2 pieces of information in his mind. However, he found that he had no idea what kind of power Baiming Prefecture was or who Carefree King was. He couldn't help but secretly remember it. Naturally, a strong sense of enmity arose. Baiming Prefecture? Carefree King? Why haven't I heard of this power before? Ming was also curious and said strangely, I've searched the souls of tens of millions of cultivators, but they have no memory of Baiming Prefecture. When did such a power appear in the human race? It's really strange. However, there is a sea on the source continent called Baiming Sea. Perhaps it has something to do with this place. Back then, the heavenly punishment divine, I had captured tens of millions of cultivators' souls. Under various tortures, they had not only revealed all their cultivation methods, but also all kinds of secret histories. This allowed Ming to fill in the blanks after he was sealed in the ancient times, as well as the knowledge and understanding of various major powers. He was confident that he already had a considerable understanding of the various major forces in the myriad worlds. But what kind of existence was the North Nether Mansion? He had no recollection of it at all. Who cares if Baiming Prefecture is strong or not? It's fine if they don't provoke I. If they really come, no matter how strong they are, I'll still beat them to pieces. Di Shirtian thought for a while. After he had no clue, he could only put all these thoughts in his heart for the time being. When he got out, he would instruct Big Rat of the Demon Guard to send scouts to monitor the universe. He didn't believe that he couldn't find Baiming Prefecture. Only then did he carefully look at Bai Hu. He couldn't help but be slightly surprised. Baihu had also reached the 9th transformation realm of the demon core. His cultivation base was extremely exquisite. Tianxiang, congratulations. 9th transformation realm of the demon core. I'm afraid you're not far from breaking through to the ancient demon saint realm. Although he was surprised, he wasn't jealous at all. Instead, he was happy. The higher Baihu's cultivation was, the stronger the demon clan would be. He couldn't help but smile and congratulate her. Huh, brother-in-law, you didn't expect this, did you? Zhu said slyly. Let me tell you, Sister Tianxiang got a great opportunity this time. She just happened to enter the ancient tomb of an ancient heavenly fox clan senior and got the inheritance of that senior. Now, she's so powerful. Even those immortal emperors were all killed in front of Sister Tianxiang. They were so mesmerized by the illusion that they even lost their minds. With Zhu, this lively little bird, chattering nonstop, she spilled out everything that had happened to them along the way, just like pouring beans out of her head. It turned out that Baihu had entered the water spirit world. Inside, there was a world of ice and snow everywhere. There were all kinds of treasures of the water attribute, just like in the metal spirit world. There were almost as many as the stars in the sky. There were also all kinds of ferocious beasts. After killing the ferocious beasts, one could obtain the embryos of the heavens and earth. However, almost all of these embryos leaned towards the water attribute. There was a lot of killing. In the water spirit realm, there was also a tomb. There were also thousands of ancient tombs in the tomb. The white fox was also lucky. In the ancient tomb, it felt the aura of its people and found the tomb of an ancient ancestor of the heavenly fox clan. That tomb was also the tomb of a venerable. The owner of the tomb was called Bai Ling. As a member of the heavenly fox clan, as a venerable, a trace of Bai Ling's soul was not completely destroyed. If nothing unexpected happened, it could almost be like the venerable ghost and be reborn again. However, the strange thing was that Bai Ling didn't actually take over Tianxiang's body. Instead, it gave her the inheritance. What happened at that time was a mystery. Baihu naturally knew, but Zhu didn't reveal anything even when she asked. After obtaining the inheritance and a few lost treasures, Baihu's current strength could be said to be several times stronger. As for Zhu, she entered the fire spirit world. Inside, she encountered a vermilion bird tomb. Not only did she completely transform into a vermilion bird, but she also obtained the kindling of the Nanming primordial fire. Her strength also increased greatly. It was even more magical. Under an inexplicable summon, she saw the corpse of the Emperor Phoenix that was killed by myriad calamity Ancestor. She obtained the remaining power of the Emperor Phoenix and underwent a transformation. She also obtained the supreme cultivation method of the Emperor Phoenix clan, the 9 changes of the Emperor Phoenix. Are the 3 divine feathers with you? Di Shirtian looked at you on his shoulder and asked softly. Yes, the divine feather has already been stored in my divine feather space. If Daddy wants it, you can take it out right away, Di chirped intimately. However, the words she wanted to say were clearly transmitted into his mind. She had grown up with Di Shirtian since she was young and had unexpectedly obtained 3 divine feathers. As long as he wanted it, he wouldn't hesitate at all. After saying that, the divine feathers behind her flashed, and 3 crystal-like divine feathers immediately flew out and fell into Di Shirtian's hand. One was purple, one was red, and one was icy blue. They were the supreme treasures of the Emperor Phoenix clan. My 5-color divine light can finally be perfected. With a light flick, he sent the 3 divine feathers into his inner world. With these 3 divine feathers, the incomplete origin of Earth in the 5 elements plate would be completely repaired. The 5-color divine light would be perfected. The second innate divine restriction in the divine punishment eye, the innate 5 elements restriction, would also be perfected, and its power would increase greatly. He couldn't help but feel excited in his heart. Brother D, you're here too. This can't be sister-in-law, right? At this moment, a hearty voice came from behind. In the blink of an eye, they saw that the 2 Xing Sun siblings were walking towards them. As he spoke, Tu Xing's son blinked his eyes and looked at Bai Hu, who was standing beside Di Shitian, with a hint of mockery. Even with a veil covering her face, her shocking charm couldn't be hidden. This is Tian Xiang. Di Shitian was relieved to see that the siblings were safe and sound, and introduced them to each other. He didn't refute Tu Xing's son's words, but he also didn't confirm it. Even so, Bai Hu was secretly delighted. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 706. Second update. Sister Tian Xiang is so beautiful. After a brief introduction, Earth Spirit walked to the white fox's side and said with a gentle smile, Sister Ling, you don't have to praise me. With your temperament and appearance, you'll be surrounded by handsome young men if you go out, Tian Xiang said with a smile. She seemed to be very close to Tu Ling. She had a temperament that made it hard for people to have any evil thoughts. The two girls chatted intimately. Di Shitian and Tu Xing's son stood together and looked at the pitch-black door of all tribulations above the island. More and more cultivators gathered on the island. Almost everyone's attention was attracted by the ancient door. Temptation. The door of all tribulations was too tempting. The real treasures might all be inside the ancient door. The inheritance of the ancestor of all tribulations, countless treasures, and the demon suppression tower that could connect to the chaos and condense countless heavenly essence pills. The heavenly pool of all tribulations that could help people cultivate an immortal body were all treasures that countless cultivators yearned for. Brother D, who do you think can enter the door of all tribulations? Tu Xing's son squinted his small eyes and shook his head. Legend has it that this ancient door killed a peerless expert in the ancient times. Even if there's no one in charge now, I can only admit defeat with the pressure of the ancient door. Faintly, the pressure that was emitted from the ancient gate seemed to be able to completely freeze the entire void. At most, there were only emperors here. No one could get close to the door of all tribulations. They would be severely injured on the spot. They might even be crushed into meat paste. The door of all tribulations is too powerful. I can't enter the door. Sakura didn't hide anything. Just by looking at it, he knew that with his current cultivation, he definitely wouldn't be able to rush into the door of all tribulations. If he forced his way in, he would only be crushed to death by the ancient door. He sensed and smelled the scent of death on the ancient gate. This feeling was unprecedentedly strong. He had never felt this way since he was born. Bullshit door of all tribulations. Watch how I split you apart. Meng Tianqi roared. His eyes suddenly widened as he swung his axe at the door of all tribulations. Heaven-splitting 9 axes, heaven splitter. Within the axe, there was a kind of sharpness that could completely cut through the world. It contained an overbearing force that pressed forward courageously. Its speed was as fast as lightning. The entire will of this axe was focused on the word break. Even if the world's hardest iron and stone were to stand in front of him, he would still be able to split it in half. It possessed the supreme will to crush the heavens. Crack! A golden axe light instantly struck the door of all tribulations. The might and pressure coming from the ancient door was cut in half with a sharp edge. 1,000 feet, 900 feet, 700 feet. When the axe light entered the pressure coming from the door of all tribulations, the speed at which it broke through the void suddenly became abnormally slow. Every 10 feet it advanced seemed to take as long as 60 years. Moreover, with every inch it advanced, the light of the axe light was forcefully worn out. It was constantly disappearing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! When the axe light appeared 10 feet in front of the door of all tribulations, the terrifying pressure crushed the entire axe light on the spot. It completely collapsed and was crushed into fine powder. This axe that could almost split the world and force the ancient powerhouses to avoid actually didn't even get close to the door of all tribulations before it was crushed into fine powder by the pressure coming from the ancient door. This scene immediately stunned all the powerhouses fighting on the island. Countless waves of shock swept through their hearts. The Beast clan has always been known for their brute force. Behemoths are royalty in the Beast clan. Although their cultivation realm is only at the Emperor realm, their battle strength can challenge those of higher realms. This kind of attack can't even get close to the door of all tribulations. It's too terrifying. This door of all tribulations is too terrifying. I'm afraid no one here has the strength to get close to or even subdue this ancient door of all tribulations. This kind of supreme treasure, I'm sure only those ancient powerhouses or peerless powerhouses can covet it. The ancestor of all tribulation's supreme treasure is indeed not something that just anyone can covet. This threshold is really high. The most painful thing in the world is to put a supreme treasure in front of you, but you can only look at it but can't get it. In the world, this is the most painful thing. If the heavens can give me a wish, then I hope that the door of all tribulations will recognize me as its master. If there is a time limit, then I hope that it will take hundreds of millions of years. This kind of situation where they could see but couldn't get it simply made countless powerhouses go crazy. They all opened their mouths and howled, green light appearing in their eyes. If the innate spirit embryo is in the door of all tribulations, then how can I get it? Chertion, on the other hand, was lost in thought. His main goal this time was to obtain the innate spirit embryo and refine it into the source of vitality for the demon city. But now, he didn't even see the shadow of the innate spirit embryo. This made him feel quite troubled. He had to start thinking about how to find a replacement source of vitality if he couldn't get the innate spirit embryo. There is an innate spirit embryo in the demon world, but it's currently gestating the god-demon diagram, so it's not suitable to be used as a source of vitality. Plus, it can't be touched. Once touched, the entire thing will be destroyed, and a great terror will appear. If I can't get it, then where can I find it? Innate spirit embryos are born in the primal chaos, but they are extremely rare. With my current cultivation, I can't even reach the primal chaos. Once I enter the primal chaos, my entire body will be corroded by the chaos energy and turned into nothingness. In a short time, various thoughts flashed through his mind. He began to think about the future. Lunatic D, don't worry. If we can't get the innate spirit embryo here, we'll just find another chance to look for it. Although innate spirit embryos are rare, it's not impossible to get them in the future. Dark comforted. After seeing the door of all tribulations, it had lost all confidence in obtaining the innate spirit embryo this time. The chances of snatching something from the door of all tribulations were simply too slim. They might even have to pay with their lives. Boom! Suddenly, just when almost all the cultivators on the island had lost hope in the door of all tribulations, the door of all tribulations in the air suddenly shook. A boundless ancient aura was emitted from the door of all tribulations. The door of all tribulations was filled with endless darkness and profundity. It was like a bottomless abyss, a terrifying bottomless pit. The mysterious runes on the edge of the door rippled like flowing water. They seemed to be alive. It was extremely bizarre. Look, the door of all tribulations is moving. Is it trying to suppress us to death? The primordial aura, what a terrifying pressure. If it really falls, none of us will be able to survive. The vibration of the door of all tribulations caused countless pairs of eyes to be filled with horror. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. However, what happened next stunned them so much that their eyeballs almost fell out of their sockets. Beams of divine light flew out of the door of all tribulations. So many treasures. It's treasure light. All of them are treasures. Countless treasures are flying out of the door of all tribulations. My goodness, am I dreaming? So many treasure lights. Heavens, how many treasures are there? Snatch them. Hurry up and snatch them. They belong to whoever snatches them. Treasures fluttered in the air. The beams of divine light contained precious treasures as they rushed out of the door of all tribulations. The number of treasures was probably no less than thousands. Thousands of treasures spurted out from the door. That scene was absolutely shocking. Even with Sakura's astonishing willpower, he couldn't help but widen his mouth in shock. Snatch them. Following the shout, all the cultivators on the island moved out. With a crazed look in their eyes, they all used their techniques and rushed into the air to chase after the treasures. Quick, Madman D, do you see that jade-colored spiritual light? The innate spiritual light emitted from it is a sign of the innate spiritual embryo. It must be the innate spiritual embryo. Hurry up and get it, but we must get it at all costs. Dark shouted crazily when he saw the treasures spurting out. He shouted at the jade-colored spiritual light in the air. Divine Eye of Punishment, 5-color divine light. Get all the treasures. Sakura took a deep breath. With a thought, a divine eye instantly opened between his brows. In the divine eye, purple gold divine light kept flickering. The divine eye in the divine eye emitted a vast pressure. Whoosh! A beam of purple gold divine light shot out from the divine eye. At the same time, it split into 4 streaks of divine light. Red, gold, blue, and green alternated as they swept across the void in a fan shape. The divine light didn't just sweep over the natural spiritual embryo. It also enveloped many treasures in the surroundings. 5-color divine light. It had always brushed through everything and left no treasure behind. Now, with the support of Di Shirtian's increasingly profound cultivation, the 5-color divine light had become even more domineering in ancient times and suppressed all the worlds. Wherever it passed, all the treasures were sucked into the divine eye. Boom, boom, boom. However, when the divine light brushed past the innate spiritual embryo, it only caused the spiritual light on it to shake violently. It was not brushed into the divine eye. Brush again. Di Shirtian did not give up. With a thought, he poured even more of his royal true force into the divine eye. He was not discouraged at all. The divine light shrouded the innate spiritual embryo and brushed it back and forth in succession. The surrounding void was annihilated inch by inch. It was as if heaven and earth were about to collapse and turn into chaos. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 707. The third update has arrived, requesting monthly votes. Beams of divine light swept back and forth crazily. In the blink of an eye, they swept back and forth hundreds of times, annihilating the entire void. Countless elements of earth, fire, water, and wind appeared, but the moment they appeared, they were crushed into powder by the divine light. Whoosh! Finally, when the divine light swept past again, the innate spiritual light was instantly shattered, revealing the object inside. It was a snow-white, flawless jade stone the size of a basketball. It didn't seem to have completely solidified, and it was still a jade-colored liquid. It emitted an innate charm. Without even thinking, the divine light swept past, and the divine eye emitted a strong, devouring force. It quickly swept the liquid into the divine eye like a whale swallowing a whale. Rumble. There were many cultivators on the island. Although the door of 10,000 tribulations spat out many treasures, it was like a drop in the bucket compared to the number of cultivators. Some of the cultivators who had their eyes on the same supreme treasure encountered each other and didn't hesitate to use their divine powers on the spot. They started fighting fiercely. Even the void shook violently from the impact. Buzz. However, just as many of the cultivators were fighting each other, the door of 10,000 tribulations suspended in the void suddenly shook and emitted a vast pressure. This pressure seemed to have a purpose, and it directly blasted the cultivators who were fighting each other. It was so domineering that the cultivators in the air fell to the ground one after another. The door of 10,000 tribulations actually blasted the people fighting. Could it be that fighting is not allowed on this island? It's great that you can't kill people here. If you want to obtain treasures, you'll have to rely on your own divine powers. Look at my 5 elements great capture hand. Almost all of the cultivators here were at the top of the world, so they naturally had wisdom that far surpassed ordinary people. When the door of 10,000 tribulations moved, they immediately understood what it was trying to convey. This was a ban on fighting. If killing was not allowed, then one would have to rely on their own divine powers to obtain treasures. How? Yuer, who was standing on Di Shitian's shoulder, flapped her wings and appeared in the air. Her body suddenly expanded to several 100 feet tall, and the 3 beams of divine light behind her instantly swept toward the treasures in the air. Splendid landscape illustration. A picture suddenly appeared in by whose hand and rolled towards the sky. In the picture, there seemed to be scenes of mountains and rivers. It was unpredictable. Lunatic D, look, that's a worldly, spiritual pearl. Hurry up and remove it. Another wave of treasures gushed out from the door of all tribulations. Inside, a glittering, golden pearl that exuded a sharp power instantly tore through the void and was about to escape. The aura of the metal origin came from the pearl. With Di Shitian's familiarity with the spiritual pearl of heaven and earth, he was able to confirm it in the blink of an eye. I have to get my hands on this golden spirit pearl. After obtaining it, my 7 sins demonic zither will immediately be upgraded. It has been upgraded to a high-grade magic treasure. Without even thinking about it, the 5-color divine light shot out from the divine eye instantly and swept towards the gold spirit bead. The gold spirit pearl is mine. At this moment, a strange, pitch-black net suddenly appeared and flew towards the gold spirit pearl. In the net, countless black murderous auras were emitted. In one fell swoop, the spiritual pearl was instantly trapped in the net and was about to be pulled back. Looking at the owner of the net, it was actually an expert of the black murderous race. You dare to steal the treasure that I have my eyes on? When Di Shitian saw this, he sneered and glanced at the black murderous race expert. He did not hide the cold, killing intent that burst out from him. Humph! So what if you're powerful? I'm not afraid. With the door of all tribulations on the island, you can't kill me at all. After you go out, you'll be killed by us black murderous race experts. The black murderous race expert also sneered and shouted, Heavenly punishment divine eye, retribution mirror. Di Shitian did not say anything else. The divine light in his divine eye flashed and enveloped the black murderous race expert. After the purple divine light burst out, it condensed into an ancient mirror. The ancient mirror shone over, and suddenly, countless terrifying scenes appeared in the mirror, flashing past at lightning speed. The scenes in the mirror were the black murderous race expert's experiences since he was a child. Almost all of them were displayed in the mirror. All kinds of ferocious scenes instantly fell into the eyes of the black murderous race expert. On the spot, a blood-like flame burst out of the black murderous race expert's body without warning. His entire body was covered in flames. Retribution fire. This is retribution fire. He tried hard to extinguish the flames around him, but these flames were emitted from his body. They were retribution fire, formed from his own evil power. As long as there was retribution fire in his body, these flames would not disappear until his entire body was completely burned to ashes. In a series of miserable screams, his entire body, along with his divine soul, was burned to ashes in an instant by the retribution fire. Di Shitian sneered. Even the door of myriad tribulations did not interfere with this kind of retribution fire formed from one's own evil power. This kind of death was caused by the retribution fire of one's own evil deeds. It could be said that he died in his own hands. Once again, he used the 5-color divine light to sweep the gold spirit pearl and the big net into his divine eye. What a pity! After taking the gold spirit pearl, he glanced around and saw that the other 4 spirit pearls had fallen into the hands of other experts. The water spirit pearl was taken by Xian Ming with the netherworld ghost lamp. The fire spirit pearl was taken by Meng Yao. The wind spirit pearl was taken by Yi Feng of the Wings clan. Finally, the thunder spirit pearl was taken by a young man with a lightning mark between his eyebrows. Lunatic D, Don't let your guard down. That old guy Myriad Tribulations is definitely not so kind as to send these treasures to you. There must be some kind of scheme that we don't know about. Be careful. Don't let that guy use you as a pawn. This unexpected, easy acquisition of the treasures made Ming feel uneasy. He thought to himself, no matter what, and regardless of whether there is a scheme behind this, we must obtain the Sciention Spirit Embryo and Spirit Pearl. If we want Thousand Demon City to truly become the habitat of the demon race, we must continuously increase the power of Thousand Demon City. With the Sciention Spirit Embryo as the source of Yuan energy, Thousand Demon City will be able to continuously strengthen itself. A hint of bitterness rose up in Sakura's heart as he sighed. My demon race is dancing on a tightrope now. The human race, the 100 races, and the myriad of worlds, there's almost no place for us to stay. If I don't go and seize, how am I going to create a place for the demon race to settle down and settle down? I am a demon. If the demon clan is destroyed, how can I survive? He had obtained these treasures so easily. Even a fool would think that there was something wrong with it. How could he not realize it? However, he had always suppressed this thought in his heart. Even if there was a conspiracy, it would be in the future. Now that he had obtained the treasures, strengthening the demon clan was the most important thing. As the demon emperor, he also shouldered the heavy responsibility of continuing the demon clan's legacy and even the rise of the demon clan. This responsibility urged and encouraged him almost all the time. That's right. Even if there is a conspiracy, it will be in the future. With your current speed of growth, even if there is a conspiracy in the future, it's not impossible for you to deal with it. Dark thought about it and felt that it made sense. Thousands of treasures were plundered by the cultivators present. Rumble. When the last treasure was taken, the door of all tribulations suddenly released a vast force that tore open the void. A huge crack appeared, and through the crack, one could see the terrifying aura of calamity in the sky above the bedlam. This was a passage leading to the outside of the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. We can go out now. The land of chaos is outside. There's finally a way out. With this harvest, it's not impossible for us to become an eternal powerhouse. For a moment, countless cultivators secretly heaved a sigh of relief. Previously, they were still nervous about whether they could get out of the cave abode. In the depths of the cave abode, the blood altar flickered with a faint bloody light. A disdainful voice slowly echoed, "Just a bunch of chess pieces." Meanwhile, in the Thousand Moon sect, a good show was playing out. The Azure Dragon army formed into an Azure Dragon and stepped into the Thousand Moon realm. Then, 3 Blood Massacre generals drove a prison carriage and 10,000 Blood Massacre guards to enter the inner realm. In the inner realm, in the void, disciples of the Thousand Moon sect soared into the sky one after another. Among them, there were no less than 1,000 immortal lords. They were all women. Each of them held a moonlight battlesword in their hands and stood in a strange position. If one looked closely, they would realize that their positions were very similar to the arrangement of the thousands of moons in the void. Behind them, there were no less than 10,000 immortal lords. Behind them, there were about 100,000 immortal kings. They were densely packed and stood in the void. They stared coldly at the group of demons charging into the inner realm. Humph! These demons dare to barge into the Thousand Moon realm. They're simply courting death. The Thousand Moon sword formation is formed by immortal lords. Even the ancient giants can stay here. What's the Thousand Demon City? They're just a small demon. How dare they call themselves kings? They want to represent the demon race? What a fool's dream. If they want to take away the demon race in our inner realm, we'll make them stay here first. Why did those demons send that prison carriage over? Do you want us to surrender without putting up a fight? What a joke. The disciples of the Thousand Moon sect mocked in disdain. In their hearts, the Thousand Moon sect was the most powerful sect. They originally thought that the demons would attack as soon as they entered. However, the strange thing was that after the prison carriage was sent over, the Blood Massacre generals and 10,000 Blood Massacre guards instantly retreated. Even the Azure Dragon army quickly retreated a few thousand feet. Suddenly, a rather strange situation appeared on the battlefield. The Thousand Demon City was in the east, while the Thousand Moon sect was in the west. Between them, there was clearly a tragic, murderous aura. Even the air became incomparably oppressive. In the middle of the two sides, there was actually a prison carriage. Under the pull of the bull, the prison carriage was constantly approaching the Thousand Moon sect side. That situation was not just a little strange. A while ago, my condition was indeed not good, and I encountered a bottleneck. Fortunately, I found inspiration again and am gradually recovering. I need to properly adjust. There's also the problem of the realm in the book. The ancient giants are realms, and the supremacy is a title for the ancient giants. It's a title. I remember that it was mentioned before. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 708. What prison carriage? Blast it to smithereens. It's just a prison carriage. Can it do anything to the entire Thousand Moons sect? They watched as the three barbaric bulls pulled the prison carriage towards the Thousand Moons sect. Although they could faintly sense that there was something strange about the prison carriage, especially the fact that there was a Taoist trapped inside, how could a dignified large sect be frightened by a prison carriage? If they truly retreated, the entire Thousand Moons sect and the entire Thousand Moons realm would become a laughingstock of all the worlds in the universe. Seeing the prison carriage approaching, finally, many Thousand Moons sect disciples could no longer hold back and slashed at the prison carriage with their moonlight battle swords. Silver-white sword light shot out from the battle swords and slashed at the prison carriage. Thousands of sharp sword light slashed through the air and appeared in front of the prison carriage. This prison carriage was made of divine crystals. However, it was made like a birdcage. There were countless restrictions inside, and the seal stone was suppressing it. Even an ancient giant would find it difficult to break the prison carriage. But now, the thousands of sword light arrived in front of the prison carriage and directly passed through the gaps in the prison carriage. They broke through the obstruction of the prison carriage and attacked the prison carriage. The restrictions in the prison carriage did not block the attack. The thousands of sword light landed squarely on Shun Gongbao, who was sitting in the prison carriage. Shun Gongbao, misfortune, evil, and disaster merged into one and became an ancient giant. He cultivated the evil emperor's immortal body and was already immortal. Even if his cultivation was restricted by the seal stone, his immortal body would not be restricted. The thousands of sword light landed on his body and cut countless terrifying tears in his Taoist robe. When the sword light landed on his body, Shun Gongbao cried out loudly. Both of his eyes turned red. His nose was crooked from anger. His face alternated between red and white, as if he had opened a dying shop. A stifled breath rose in his heart. He, Shun Gongbao, had roamed the universe for countless years since the ancient times. Wherever he went, he was like a crab that could do whatever he wanted. Even the most powerful experts had to turn a blind eye to him. Now, he was imprisoned in this *T prison carriage and was slashed by the sword light of a group of juniors. Shame! What a great shame! Shun Gongbao threw his head back and roared with grief and indignation. I'm so angry. I'm so pitiful. I'm actually being humiliated by a group of juniors. Tion, you're really vicious. You're using me as a tool. I regret it so much. I should have cursed you to death back then and let you be plagued by bad luck. Let you be invaded by 10,000 evils. I'm so unlucky. Shingong was wearing a tattered Taoist robe. His face was green with anger, and his nose was crooked. He was pounding his chest and stamping his feet in the prison wagon, crying and yelling. He looked like he was holding back his strength and could not defecate. At the same time, countless streaks of pitch-black chi crazily emerged from his body and swept out in all directions. Especially those Thousand Moons sect disciples who were waving their battle swords and slashing at him. Countless streaks of black chi instantly wrapped around their bodies. The invisible power of misfortune filled the entire Thousand Moon realm. The force of myriad evils and the force of calamity were completely unleashed. Not good. Why did I suddenly lose control of my magic power? Could it be that I've gone mad? Why did the heavenly lightning strike me? Where did this earth fiend flame come from? Quick, help me put out the fire. My neck. My neck is twisted. What's going on? Why is my entire body cramping? Heavens, why did a black hole appear in the Thousand Moon realm? Where did this dazzling heavenly fire come from? Heavens, that black wind. Could it be the Nine Shades wind? There's so much lightning. There's so much poisonous gas. Why is it like this? Shingon Gongbao was like a hornet's nest. Misfortune, calamity, and 10,000 evils all gathered on his body. Whoever touched him would be unlucky. The Thousand Moons sect did not know that the person in the prison wagon was this calamity. They even directly attacked and beat him to death. This time, it was as if they had poked a hornet's nest. The power of misfortune instantly wrapped around every single disciple of the Thousand Moons sect. The entire Thousand Moons sect was enveloped in misfortune. That was not all. Calamity immediately descended. Heavenly fire, lightning, wind, and all kinds of calamities instantly erupted. All of the Thousand Moons sect disciples surged toward them. Rumble. The Thousand Moons peak, which was as tall as 10,000 blades and was like a giant that had existed since ancient times, violently shook without warning. Crack. On the peak, numerous hideous and terrifying cracks began to spread from the foot of the mountain. With a speed visible to the naked eye, they quickly spread across the entire peak. They were densely packed together like a spider web. The peak shook violently. The various buildings and caves built on the peak were instantly struck by a terrifying force and collapsed. For the cracks on the peak, endless amounts of earth fire spewed out and swept in all directions. The restrictions that had been set up on the peak were unceasingly destroyed by the impact. From the main hall of the Thousand Moons peak, 9 figures instantly turned into divine light and rushed into the sky above the peak. A silver-white ancient mirror instantly flew out from the great saintess' hands and hung in the air. With a whoosh, a ray of divine light shot out from the ancient mirror and enveloped the entire Thousand Moons peak in divine light. The divine light contained a vast amount of power. It covered the entire peak and actually stopped the collapse of the peak. As the earth fire flowed back, the cracks disappeared one after another. What's going on? The Thousand Moons peak is the foundation of the Thousand Moons realm. Since the birth of the Thousand Moons realm, there has never been any signs of collapse. Why is this happening all of a sudden? The great saintess frowned in disbelief. Oh no, great senior sister, look at the sky. The second saintess looked up, her eyes filled with shock. How is this possible? How can the moon of the Thousand Moons realm fall? Oh no, the moon is smashing down on the Thousand Moons peak. They looked up and saw that the thousand moons hanging in the sky were violently swaying. With the endless power of the moon, they fell from the sky and left streaks of silver-white light in the air as they madly crashed into the Thousand Moons peak. All sorts of disasters occurred in the Thousand Moons realm. Earth fire, magma, and the sea surged with terrifying tsunamis. The ground cracked and mountains collapsed. Countless amounts of poisonous gas spewed out from the ground. Terrifying gales swept across the sky, blowing people's flesh and blood apart. Moonlight rain fell from the sky and landed on the ground, freezing it inch by inch. Countless bolts of lightning flashed wildly like raindrops. All sorts of disasters enveloped the entire Thousand Moons realm in an instant. The aura of disaster filled every inch of space. Azure Dragon Legion, set up the Gate of Heaven projection and follow me to save the Inner Realm people. The Gate of Heaven projection appeared in the Thousand Moons realm. The Azure Dragon in the sky turned into soldiers of the Azure Dragon Legion. They formed teams of 10 and quickly charged into the Inner Realm. They began to search for demons and send large amounts of demons to the gate of heaven projection. Bloodkill guards, listen to my order. Slaughter the Thousand Moons sect. Rumble, rumble, rumble. With the 3 Bloodkill generals leading, 10,000 Bloodkill guards turned into a wave of blood and charged into the Thousand Moons realm. Only 2 hours later, from the Thousand Moons realm, countless spies left the realm and quickly spread the news to the other realms. Damn! Shun Gongbao is the star of disaster, the god of misfortune. He is too terrifying. Disaster swept across the entire Thousand Moons realm. Even the Thousand Moons in the sky fell and smashed into the Thousand Moons peak. The Thousand Moons peak turned into nothing, and countless disciples of the Thousand Moons sect died. The star disaster is really terrifying. Attack him, and you will immediately be surrounded by endless misfortune. The blood-killing general of the Demon City. The blood-killing guards are truly godly murderous soldiers. They are invulnerable from head to toe, impervious to weapons, water, and fire. A single blood-killing general can stop 3 ancient giants. The 9 Sanuses of the Thousand Moons sect were captured on the spot. Blood slaughter, it's really blood slaughter. The Demon Emperor is really ruthless. He actually captured Shun Gongbao and used him as the vanguard. Whoever touches him will be unlucky. The Thousand Moons sect had only attacked him, and a disaster had swept through the entire Thousand Moons realm. Now, the Thousand Moons realm was probably going to decline from being one of the many realms in the universe and become a barren land. No, I have to quickly report back to my sect. If the Demon Emperor, that madman, brings Shun Gongbao to my sect again, won't we all die? All demons return to their sect. Let him return to his sect. We can't provoke disaster. For a time, all kinds of news spread to the heavens at an unimaginable speed. The fate of the Thousand Moons realm and even the entire Thousand Moons sect made countless experts speechless on the spot. Those who did not want to stop it in the first place and wanted to give the demon race face would not stop them and allow the demon race to migrate out. As for those who were originally prepared to resist, their attitudes began to waver. Shun Gongbao's power was too strong. The plan to return to their sect was carried out at an unusually smooth speed. In the Thousand Demon City, a large number of demon race members were gathering and returning to the city almost every moment. The number of demon race members was increasing at an unbelievable speed. All kinds of demon race clans were able to enter the city. However, after the Thousand Moons sect, the Demon Emperor did not continue to use the Bloodslaughter sect's thunderous methods on those worlds that were openly opposing him. He only recorded the various opposing forces. However, the fact that the Thousand Demon City had captured Shun Gongbao made many forces that originally wanted to attack the demon race secretly retreat. Shun Gongbao was like a nuclear bomb that could explode at any time in the Thousand Demon City. This kind of invisible deterrence was not just a little bit strong. Those with monthly tickets, please help me. Chapter 709. Many cultivators leaped into the air without any hesitation and rushed into the rift, passing through it and exiting it. With an example, many cultivators followed suit. One by one, they crossed the void and rushed into the crack. They passed through the crack and entered the chaotic land. They left the Myriad Tribulations cave abode. The Myriad Tribulations cave abode was filled with too many strange things. Almost every moment, a large number of powerful cultivators died here. Now that they could leave, they almost couldn't wait to control their bodies. No one dared to have any ideas about the Myriad Tribulations door. That was simply courting death. Brother-in-law, let's get out of here quickly. After staying here for so long, Zhuer misses sister. Big sister is pregnant with a child now. If the child is born and Zhuer is not here, my little nephew will not recognize me as his aunt in the future. Zhuer blinked her eyes and shook Sakura's arm as she said in a crisp voice. Her eyes narrowed into crescents. Sure, Dion, I also think that it's better for us to leave quickly. I don't know why, but I keep feeling like there's a pair of eyes secretly watching me. The white fox furrowed her brows as she spoke. She did not know why, but when she entered the island, she could faintly feel that there was a pair of eyes spying on her from the dark. This feeling was faintly discernible and extremely strange. However, it was very clear that it existed, and it made her feel vaguely uneasy. It was as if she had a premonition that something bad was about to happen. Hearing this, Tu Ling-er's clear eyes, which seemed to be able to see through people's hearts, instantly fell on Bai Hu. In her eyes, all kinds of strange lights constantly intertwined and changed. Suddenly, her expression changed as if she had seen something bad. She hurriedly took 2 steps forward and walked to Bai Hu's side. She reached out and pulled her to the side. She whispered, "Sister Tianxiang, this is the Great Expansion Clam. It's the most precious protective treasure of our Li clan. Hide it well. If you encounter any danger, it can save you once." A 7-colored shell-like treasure appeared in her hand. It was only the size of a thumb, but it was strangely magical. When it was delivered to Bai Hu's hand, it seemed to make a small cut on her hand. A drop of essence blood immediately fell on the Great Expansion muscle. Strangely, the Great Expansion muscle instantly turned into a 7-color divine light and entered her body. This, Bai Hu was shocked. When she saw the Great Expansion muscle, she knew that it was a rare treasure. She did not dare to accept it. Just as she was about to decline, she did not expect that the Earth Spirit would recognize it as its master. He couldn't help but look at her with a bitter smile. There was a hint of doubt in his eyes. He didn't quite understand the reason behind her actions. He wanted to ask. However, Tu Ling shook her head. He walked back to Tu Xingsan's side. However, judging from his expression, he did not seem to be in a good mood. "Little sister, you used the prophet's eye on Miss Su just now. Did you see some fragments of the future?" Tu Xingsan asked in a low voice. "I see that you even gave Su Tianxiang the protective supreme treasure given to you by your clan. Could it be that she's going to be in great trouble?" He had seen everything that had just happened. He had seen everything clearly, and his expression had become very serious. "Brother, the 2 of us can't interfere with her affairs. I gave her the Great Expansion muscle in hopes that she can escape this disaster. However, no matter what, Brother D is worth befriending. If we can help him, we should help him." Tu Ling-er's expression was serious. "Come, let's go out together." Although Di Shutian had seen Tu Ling-er's strange behavior, he could not help but ponder for a while. He could only suppress his thoughts for now. He looked at the crack in the void. The surrounding cultivators were decreasing rapidly. Now, they had all left the cave abode and returned to the chaotic land. He immediately stopped hesitating. He shouted and took the lead. His body swayed, and he turned into a stream of light and rushed into the crack. The others followed closely behind. In the crack, there was a powerful twisting force that was quite terrifying. If one's cultivation had not reached a certain level, once he entered the crack, he would be torn into countless pieces. However, this force could not hurt Di Shutian. In the crack, it was as if he was walking on flat ground. He quickly passed through it. It felt like a moment, but it also felt as long as a year. After some time, a bright light suddenly appeared in front of him. His eyes could almost see all kinds of disasters in the chaotic land. He smelled the scent of disaster. "I can finally return to the demon city. I have achieved my goal by getting the innate spiritual embryo this time." When Di Shutian saw the exit, he secretly sighed in relief. His experience in the tribulation cave abode flashed through his mind. He experienced the gains and losses bit by bit. Whoosh, whoosh. His body swayed, and he rushed out of the crack. The royal true force covered his entire body. His eyes were like lightning, and his mind was tense. He was on guard against someone trying to rob him when he came out. However, the moment he left the crack, Di Shutian's face suddenly changed. His whole body seemed to have sunk into a sea in an instant. He was involuntarily wrapped by a force of space and quickly transported to an unknown place. "Oh no, I've been set up." A thought flashed through Di Shutian's mind. The force of space that wrapped around his body was obviously a kind of teleportation force. "Damn it, Lunatic D, you've met your retribution." Did Shingon send misfortune to you? Every dog has its day. Back then, you used the heavenly gate projection to send Shungong into the heavenly prison. I didn't expect that someone would set up an illusory door in front of the crack and let you enter. You have to be careful now. Someone is plotting against you. Oh no, I'm afraid that the fox and the two siblings have come in together. Ming said bitterly, not knowing whether to laugh or cry. Back then, Di Shirtian set up the heavenly gate formation to trick Shingong. This retribution came really quickly. Someone actually set up an illusory door in front of the crack that appeared in the Myriad Calamity Cave abode. From the looks of it, they were specifically waiting for him. It was obvious that someone was plotting against him. Pada! In an instant, his right hand appeared on the slender tiger soul's hilt on his back. In his body, the 9th rank Black Lotus spun crazily at an astonishing speed, sending waves of royal true force into the demon veins all over his body. His flesh and blood trembled nonstop, and a vast amount of power emerged. The light around him flickered, and the treasure body was pushed to the extreme. From every pore on his body, waves of purple gold demon chi constantly spewed out. Everything was intertwined, and his entire body was shrouded in a dense demon fog. Looking at the violent rolling of the demon fog, there seemed to be various strange forces inside. Just a glance would cause one's mind to waver, and various terrifying illusions would appear in one's mind. All kinds of desires emerged inexplicably in one's mind. The royal true force formed by the power of desire and the royal purple chi. Naturally, it had various strange abilities of the power of desire, as long as Di Shirtian was willing. Even if it was only a strand of the royal true force, he could send it into anyone's body and cause them to fall into various desires and illusions in an instant. I want to see who is plotting against me. Di Shirtian's mind spun quickly. Almost in an instant, he had already reacted. Even if he was attacked the moment he stepped out of the illusory door of illusions, he could still react in an instant. The vigilance in his heart was raised to the highest level. The dragon eyes of Underworld flashed with a dangerous light. It shouted, "He, Underworld Ancestor, has never been plotted against like this before. If I can recover the cultivation of the ancient times, even if it's an ancient giant, I can kill him with one claw." It had never been a kind person. Swish! The power of space around him suddenly dissipated, and the scene in front of him changed instantly. With a thud, Di Shirtian stepped on the ground. His eyes scanned the surroundings like lightning. In front of him was a huge island. On the island, flowers and trees were scattered, forming a forest. There were even ferocious beasts roaming around. Outside the island, a chaotic storm was wreaking havoc everywhere. Meteorites of all sizes were streaking across the void like meteors. Various distorted space blades were flying around wantonly. This was the endless void. The strange thing was that the attack that he had expected did not appear immediately. Instead, after a few glances, the location of the island appeared in his mind. If he was not mistaken, he was in the endless void. However, his eyes immediately scanned the void above the island. Suddenly, a figure appeared in his eyes. In the void, a young man in a royal blue robe was holding a feather fan made of 9 feathers in his hand. He wore a flat imperial crown on his head and a pair of cloud ascension boots on his feet. His face was extraordinarily handsome, and between his eyebrows, there was a black birthmark of a fire cloud. It added a strange charm to his body. He exuded a unique aura of disdain and carefree. The combination of masculinity and aloofness in his aura was a fatal attraction to women. Even the most picky people could not help but praise him when they saw him. He was indeed a handsome man. Looking at his feet, he was actually standing on the back of a huge rock. Its 2 wings were like clouds in the sky. However, the strange thing was that the huge rock seemed to have the aura of the water tribe. It did not seem like an ordinary rock. Moreover, there seemed to be a desolate and unwilling expression in its eyes. "It's a rock," Ming could not help but exclaim. In the northern underworld, there was a fish named Koan. The Kuan was so big that it was unknown how many thousands of miles long it was. It transformed into a bird named Peng. The Peng's back was so large that it was unknown how many thousands of miles long it was. When it flew, its wings were like clouds in the sky. This bird was not a rock, but the infamous Kuan Peng from ancient times. The young man stood on the back of the Kuan Peng calmly, with a natural smile on his face. He was also sizing up Di Shirtion. Swoosh! Swoosh! The space behind him distorted. Immediately, he saw Bai Hu Zhu'er and Tu Ling appear on the island at the same time. "It's you, Bai Hu," who had just stood up, could not help but widen her eyes when she saw the scene on the island. She cried out in shock. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chijian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 710. Who is it? Tu Xingsuan hurriedly asked. North Nether Mansion Master, Carefree King. Zhu Er's eyes also revealed a strong sense of alertness. Carefree King? This sentence shocked everyone present. Ever since they heard Bai Hu mention that someone had pestered her in the Tribulation Cave abode, this name was instantly branded in their minds. It could be said that the impression was not deep. He is Carefree King. He actually enslaved the Kuan Peng as his mount. Di Shirtion took a deep breath. His tiger-like eyes narrowed, and a strong sense of anger emerged in his heart. The Kuan Peng was one of the rarest clans in the ancient demon clan. During the ancient demon clan's heyday, there were only 5 Kuan Peng clans in the entire demon clan. Moreover, one of them was the ancestor of the Kuan Peng clan. In the ancient times, he was known as the Demon Master. Speaking of the Demon Master Kuan Peng, who wasn't filled with awe, he had once created many cultivation techniques and passed them down to the demon clan. He had a high status in the demon clan. He was known as one of the ancestors of the demon clan. The clan he left behind had high aptitude and potential. Among the countless clans of the demon clan, it could be said to be ranked at the top. Every Kuan Peng clansman was the top battle force. In the ancient war, they were at the forefront and fought with the billions of demon gods on the demon god continent. No one knew how many heroic feats they had done. Now, they were actually stepped on by the North Nether Mansion Master as a mount. This was simply slapping the entire demon clan's face. Shame, shame. As a demon emperor, Di Shirtion felt that his face was burning hot. The descendant of the demon master Kuan Peng was actually forcefully taken as a mount. This was slapping the demon clan's face, which was slapping his face. Looking at the unwillingness and anger in the Kuan Peng king's eyes, how could he not know that it was definitely not his intention to become a mount? The anger in his heart immediately flared up. Even if it was not for the matter of Bai Hu, just because of the matter of the Kuan Peng king, Di Shirtion's body almost instantly surged with a strong killing intent. He stared coldly at Unfettered King, who was standing on the back of the Rock King. Carefree King gently waved the feather fan in his hand, his body exuding an unruly aura. He wasn't surprised by Di Shirtion's murderous intent at all. He smiled calmly and said, "That's right, I'm a lord of Dark North Mansion, Carefree King." There was a strange magnetism in his voice. This magnetism gave him a fatal attraction to women. "Carefree King, what are you trying to do by teleporting us here?" Zhu'er put her hands on her waist and pointed at him angrily. She shouted angrily, Let me tell you, you were lucky last time. This time, my brother-in-law is here. Let's see how my brother-in-law will beat you into a pig's head. Kneel down and beg for mercy." When she saw Di Shirtion beside her, she shouted with even more confidence. Her expression was like a little chili pepper. "Carefree King, you should give up. I've already told you that I already have a husband. Furthermore, my husband is the Demon Emperor standing before you right now. It's absolutely impossible for me to leave with you. It's even more impossible for me to like you, and even more impossible for me to become your concubine." Bai Hu's face was slightly pale, but there was a resolute charm in her expression. There was a touch of decisiveness in her voice. She took a step forward and stood beside Tion. She reached out and hugged one of his arms intimately. That expression was strangely resolute. Since it was a kind of attitude, it was also a way to reveal his palpitations to Sakura without any concealment. Your husband is the Demon Emperor. When Carefree King heard this, he wasn't angry at all. He just looked at Tion with a faint smile and said casually, "It just so happens that an old friend asked me to tell him that he doesn't want to see the Demon Emperor in the future. Since that's the case, I'll kill him and do the two things at the same time. This way, naturally, your husband won't be an obstacle between us." He didn't want the Demon Emperor to appear. It was obvious that he wanted Tion to die on the spot. You enslaved the Kuanping and humiliated the Demon Clan. You deserve to die. The anger in Tion's heart surged crazily into his mind like a tide. Patter! He moved his body and took a step forward. As if he had shrunk the ground into an inch, he instantly crossed a distance of hundreds of feet and appeared in the void. With a clang, the tiger soul was unsheathed. The golden saber light drew a dazzling beam of light and slashed at the unfettered king's heart. The divine light in the saber was restrained. Its speed was faster than lightning. Almost instantly, it appeared in front of Carefree King's heart. The sharp light flickered in and out, as if it was going to cut the void apart. Among the Emperor level, there weren't many people who could dodge this attack. The murderous aura emitted from the saber almost froze the surrounding air. An indescribable anger was burning in his chest. He attacked with a killing move without mercy. Clang! However, just as Tiger Soul's blade was about to cut into the unfettered king's heart, the feather fan in his hand, which was made of 9 different colored feathers, blocked his chest with a strange speed, as if it was miraculous, and collided with Tiger Soul. A 9-color divine light appeared on the feather fan and blocked the vast saber light spat out by the Tiger Soul. Then, he waved the feather fan as if it was an understatement. Boom! A continuous and boundless mighty force suddenly erupted from the feather fan, causing Tiger Soul and the Sakura's entire body to unconsciously retreat outwards. As they retreated, the terrifying force instantly destroyed the surrounding space. The space behind them caved in horribly. You're only at the 9th transformation realm, but you have the combat strength of an ancient demon saint. Coupled with the ultimate void mask on your face, your cultivation isn't inferior to any demon saint. However, if you want to kill this king, this bit of cultivation is still not enough. Carefree King stood quietly on the back of the Kuanping, his expression unchanged. He gently waved the feather fan in his hand and said regretfully, "It's a pity. If you were given time, you might be able to become a wonder of the world. However, you won't have a chance. Whatever divine abilities you have, feel free to use them. This king has always had a rule. I will give any expert who dies by this king's hand a chance to unleash the last and most resplendent brilliance of their life. Unleash all of your divine abilities and techniques and die without regrets." His calm words spread across the island. It fell into everyone's ears. Not only did they not feel honored, but they also felt a strong chill in their hearts. To be able to set such a rule, how terrifying must that person's strength be? Lunatic D, be careful. This Carefree King is an ancient giant, a true ancient giant. How is it possible? His cultivation is already close to the peak of the ancient giant. He's only a step away from being a peerless expert. How could such a guy appear out of nowhere? Dark saw that Unfettered King had easily blocked Sakura's killing move, and with a wave of his hand, his entire body couldn't withstand the power emitted from the fan and was sent flying. This kind of power was something Tion had never encountered since he was born. It was as vast and boundless as the ocean in his body. Bang! He took a step back with his left foot and stepped on the void behind him. Countless terrifying cracks appeared in the void like glass. He instantly steadied his body that was constantly retreating. His heart was in turmoil. So strong. From the body of Freedom King, Lin Fan could only feel a boundless and formless pressure pressing down on him. Strong, this was way too strong. At that moment, Lin Fan felt as though he was just a little kid. He had never felt that kind of feeling before. An ancient giant. This was a true ancient giant. Powerful. He was definitely no less than 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than him. Run. Almost instantly, a thought that he had never had before appeared in his mind. With just a short blow, he clearly knew that Carefree King definitely had the terrifying power to kill him. Crazy D, quickly think of a way to escape. If you stay here, you'll definitely die. Where there's life, there's hope. This island has been set up with countless restrictions. We must find a way to open the restrictions. If we die here, everything will be over. Ming was so anxious that his eyes began to turn red. He kept shouting, "No, I must send Tian Xiang and Zhu out first." Di Shitian's mind was spinning wildly, but his expression was unusually calm. There was no trace of panic. He stopped in the void and looked at Carefree King with a cold smile. "Carefree King, I didn't expect that you, an ancient giant, would personally attack I. However, do you really think that I can only wait to be captured and can't hurt you?" He slowly exuded a majestic aura. "Today, I'll take both your life and little by whose life." Carefree King just said with a faint smile. He seemed to be completely unmoved by his words. "That depends on whether you have the life to take it." Boom, boom, boom. With a wave of his hand, the void behind him shook. A towering throne with an aura above the heavens instantly appeared in the void. Di Shitian sat on the throne. A light flashed in his hand, and the pitch-black Seven Sins demonic zither suddenly appeared in front of him. It floated steadily in the void. Gold Spirit Pearl. With a thought, a jade box appeared. He opened the jade box, and a gold spirit pearl that was shining with golden light and emitting traces of gold origin appeared in the box. He reached out and took the gold spirit pearl in his hand. Without even looking at it, he directly pressed it into the groove beside the third string of the Seven Sins demonic zither. Buzz! Ding dong! As soon as the gold spirit pearl touched the groove, it immediately set perfectly together like dry firewood in a raging fire. It completely integrated with the entire zither. Suddenly, in the zither, countless pure desire power could be seen fusing into the zither at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, the ancient zither continuously transformed and became stronger. The power in the zither was even more tyrannical. The 9 strings on the zither moved without wind and vibrated in unison. To be continued. If you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 711. Waves of invisible sound waves spread out in all directions, and when they reached the ears, all kinds of desires appeared in the mind, and their minds were shaken by the sound of the guqin. The sound of desire. King Xiaoyao, who had been maintaining a natural and calm expression, couldn't help but change his expression slightly when he heard the zither's natural vibrations. A strange look appeared on his face. He exclaimed in surprise. Just now, when the sound of the zither entered his ears, even he could feel the desire that he had been suppressing in the bottom of his heart. It actually showed signs of stirring. The gold spirit pearl was embedded in the body of the guqin. Suddenly, the guqin, which was originally a middle-grade magic treasure, was upgraded to a high-grade magic treasure at a speed visible to the naked eye. The guqin had already accumulated enough power, and now, with the addition of the gold origin, it broke through the shackles on the spot, and the power of the guqin increased by more than 10 times in an instant. The body of the guqin shook. The originally pitch-black ancient zither had already transformed into a pure white, flawless snow in an instant. There was not the slightest flaw. The sparkling and translucent jade light was like a tide that constantly rippled within the body of the zither. It was suffused with strange colors. The Seven Sins demonic guqin was upgraded to a high-grade magic treasure. Music. Freedom King saw that the transformation of the guqin had completed and landed on the body of the guqin, and a strange light shot out from his eyes. I not only know music, but my Guqin can also kill people. You may not be able to withstand my Guqin. Di Shitian's face was covered by the emperor mask, but under the mask, his face was as cold as ice. The words he spat out could freeze the air, with a kind of murderous aura. Oh! King Xiaoyao waved his hand with great interest, and a wine jar appeared out of nowhere. He casually opened the mud seal, and a strange aroma of wine wafted out from the jar. He smiled with interest. Then this king is even more interested. I remember that in the past, I once heard a heavenly girl of the Qin family play the Nine Heavens Ecstasy song. When the song ended, 30% of my soul dissipated. I still remember it today. In order to repay this generous gift, I am planning to pay a visit to the Qin clan. I heard that the Qin clan has a celestial maiden who is recognized by the LV Qin. She is a rare beauty and is destined to be this king's concubine. I'd like to see how your sound Dao cultivation compares to the Qin families. His tone was very calm, but there was a trace of playfulness in it. The school of Qin was known to be the best in the world in terms of music and sound attacks. It stood at the peak of the way of sound. The Nine Heavens Ecstasy song was the Qin clan's signature song. In terms of sound attacks, this song could be said to be the most powerful sound attack song in the world. He did not think that Di Shitian was stronger than the Qin family in terms of sound Dao. In the Dao of sound attacks, the Qin clan reigned supreme. Mumph. The murderous intent in Di Shitian's eyes intensified. He did not expect that the carefree king would not only target Bai Hu, but also the Qin family. He did not hesitate. He placed his hands on the zither strings and brushed them smoothly across the body. Clang, clang, clang. His 10 powerful fingers plucked the strings of the zither. Instantly, the sounds of war filled with the sounds of war, and war filled the air. As the music was played, it was as if the entire island was filled with a terrifying, murderous aura. Like a stormy sea, it completely covered the entire island. Every inch of the air was filled with a terrible, murderous aura. It was as if the surroundings had turned into a terrifying ancient battlefield. The terrible, murderous aura was about to make one's blood boil. The Song of Slaughter. Kill, break, wolf. It's a song of the way of slaughter. A trace of surprise flashed across the carefree king's face when he heard the zither music. As soon as the sound of the zither started, Indra immediately released his murderous aura. Along with the sound of the zither, his 10 fingers were like phantoms as he plucked the zither's strings quickly and forcefully. The rapid sound of slaughter instantly burst out. Clang, clang, clang. As the zither strings vibrated, blood-colored sound blades in the shape of crescent moons condensed and slashed toward the carefree king at lightning speed. In front of these sound blades, the space was instantly destroyed by the vibrations. They appeared strangely in front of the carefree king. No less than tens of thousands of sound blades covered the sky and earth, cutting through the vacuum. Turning sound blades into sound blades is not bad. There are not many people below the level of ancient powerhouses who can withstand this kind of sound attack. However, it can't do anything to me. The carefree king did not even have the time to look at the sound blades. He lifted the wine jar in his hand and poured a mouthful of wine into his mouth. The wine that sparkled like amber fell into his mouth. It did not block the sound blades at all. Clang, clang, clang. The blood-colored blades cut through the void and swept to within 100 feet of the carefree king at lightning speed. Suddenly, a strange darkness appeared around unfettered king. It was like a black hole. With him as the center, the area of 10 feet around him collapsed continuously. It was like a black ocean. It was indescribably deep. It was as if it wanted to devour everything in the area. As soon as the blood-colored sound blades entered the area, they were strangely devoured and disappeared without a trace, without causing any ripples. As soon as the sound blades entered the area, they were instantly devoured. This is the dark north heaven span change. When Ming saw this scene, he couldn't help but exclaim, "How did such a peerless technique fall into his hands?" Not good, lunatic D. The carefree king has cultivated the dark north heaven span change, and has the terrifying ability to devour all things. Any attack that enters the area around him will be devoured and refined into dark north true power. If he gets close, he can instantly rob you of your cultivation base and dermic powers. Even your treasures, materials, and spiritual essences will be devoured by him. Your attacks can't hurt him. Once you get close, you'll be devoured. The dark north heavenspan change could devour all energy and turn it into one's own, as long as one's physical body could withstand it. Even if one was just an ordinary person, devouring all of an immortal king's dermic powers would immediately give one the full power of an immortal king. However, one's cultivation base had to be comprehended by oneself. Otherwise, if one's strength exceeded one's cultivation base by too much, one would directly suffer from chi deviation. If one lost control of their true power, they would explode and die. Even with this flaw, it was still a very domineering technique. Legend had it that the creator of this technique, Dark North Unfettered, had once tried to improve it. He wanted to let the technique absorb the opponent's dermic powers while also robbing the opponent's dermic powers. It could be said to be one of the most domineering techniques in the world. Robbing everything in the world. You could devour sound blades? Then let's see if you can even resist the Seven Sins divine melody. After Shurtion tested out the technique that the carefree king had cultivated, the zither music in his hands suddenly changed. A melodious tune, like a lark in the morning, rang out, crisp and pleasant to the ear. His fingers moved swiftly like moving clouds and flowing water. The 9 strings immediately danced between his fingers like fairies. Strange notes continued to condense between heaven and earth, spreading in all directions. In the void, the sound of the zither music spread out like the sound of nature. Good tune. The carefree king's eyes couldn't help but light up as he praised. He only felt that this zither music was a wonderful heavenly music that he had never heard before. It was simply a supreme enjoyment. He couldn't help but close his eyes and listen. In his life, he had never heard such a magical zither music that was more moving than the sound of nature. He couldn't help but be immersed in it. In his mind, traces of desire emerged from the bottom of his heart, turning into a strange movement that reverberated in his mind. What was beautiful was not the zither music, but the sound of desire that was derived from the desire in his body. In his mind, it was as if he was free and unfettered, accompanied by hundreds of beautiful women, graceful and beautiful, standing at the peak of heaven and earth. The first movement of the Seven Sins divine melody, Heaven's Heart. A divine melody is a divine melody after all. No matter how strong the carefree king is, he still has desires. With desires, he can't escape the power of the divine melody. Even he was mesmerized by the divine melody. He was completely unaware of the outside world. That's great. Dark shouted joyfully, Tian Xiang, Zhu brother 2, hurry up and leave this place. Now that the carefree king is mesmerized by my divine melody, this is the best time to leave. Shurtion scolded by Hu and the others at the same time, while playing the zither. Brother-in-law, what about you? Zhu asked worriedly. The carefree king has been lured into the illusion of desire by my zither music. With his cultivation realm, if I stop playing the zither music, he will wake up in the blink of an eye. You guys leave first. I want to have a good fight with him. I want to kill him. Shurtion's eyes narrowed. Seeing that the carefree king had fallen into the illusion of his divine melody, it was a rare opportunity to kill him. How could he miss such an opportunity? He wanted to see if he could kill the carefree king here. Let's go. If we stay here, it will make Brother D have scruples and restrict his movements. Leaving is the best help for Brother D. Tu Ling, Er's eyes flashed with wisdom. Lunatic D, this island is surrounded by restrictions. However, the purple divine feather of the 3 divine feathers on Er's body is the most magical. With it around, any restriction is useless in front of that divine feather. He could easily pass through most of the restrictions. Let take them away from here. The most magical part of the Emperor Phoenix was the 3 divine feathers on its back. The most magical of them was the purple divine feather. Not only could it change the 5 elements at will, but it also had the magical power to break through all kinds of restrictions. In ancient times, almost no one could restrain the Emperor Phoenix. Roar! Du instantly expanded to several hundred feet in size. She placed the white fox and the others on her back, and a beam of purple light enveloped them completely. With a sweep of the purple light, countless restrictions were mysteriously destroyed under the divine light. With a long cry, she flapped her wings and quickly passed through the restrictions. She quickly flew toward the myriad demon city. In the blink of an eye, she turned into a stream of light and disappeared into the endless void. He watched as Baihu and the others left. Sakura also secretly heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. Now that they had left, he no longer had to worry about anything in the future. Come at me. I want to see just how strong you, King Xiaoyao, are. The music in his hands changed, and the originally melodious music instantly became passionate. The second movement of the divine melody of 7 sins, Rise of Evil. To be continued. If you want to know what will happen next, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 712. Tian had only obtained 2 movements of the divine melody of 7 sins. The first movement, Heart of Heaven. The sound of the zither aroused all kinds of desires buried deep in the hearts of those who listened. They would all be released in an instant and give birth to the most beautiful zither music in the world. This sound of desire was formed from the desires in each person's heart. What each person heard would be different, but it was the most beautiful music that was targeted at them. No one could resist this sound of the guqin. As long as one had desires and was not completely oblivious to them, one would be subconsciously immersed in the sound of the guqin and fall into a strange state. In one's mind, all sorts of desires could be realized. One would fall into it and lose one's will, unable to distinguish between illusion and reality. Those with weak wills and unstable cultivation levels will be able to forcefully raise their cultivation levels. This first movement, Heart of Heaven, it was enough to completely immerse them in their endless desires. Their minds would be eroded by their desires, and they would die. It would sweep away most of the cultivators. However, for those with strong wills and stable cultivation levels, this Heart of Heaven was overbearing and terrifying. As long as they were given time, they would be able to break through the illusion in their minds and see through their desires. Even if they were trapped, they would not be trapped for long. With King Xiaoyao's profound cultivation, his realm was stable, and his willpower was incomparably tenacious. With the power of Heaven's heart, it could only temporarily trap him. Once Sakura's zither music stopped, he would instantly wake up. He had to forcefully suppress the various desires in his heart. Therefore, he did not dare to stop playing. However, Tian was not only capable of this. The second movement, Rise of Evil. Tian had practiced the divine melody of 7 sins more than 100,000 times. He was extremely familiar with each movement. When he played it, it was as smooth as flowing water. With a thought, the sound of the guqin began to move. As one listened, one would immediately realize that the sound of the guqin under his hands gradually became more hurried. The sound of the guqin instantly became more passionate. Look at Freedom King. In the void, wisps of formless black gas appeared. Under the influence of the guqin, they condensed into strange notes and rushed into his body through his pores. However, in his mind, there was a different scene. It was a beautiful paradise filled with birds and fragrant flowers. There was an exquisite and majestic palace. Countless treasures surrounded the palace, emitting endless light. Inside the palace, there were many palace maids with graceful figures dancing to the music. Their graceful dance was like a dream, beautiful and splendid. Just taking a look at it was a supreme pleasure. The sounds of nature reverberated throughout the palace, echoing endlessly. On the throne of the palace, King Xiaoyao was surrounded by countless concubines. They were all holding wine cups, fruits, spirit essences, and delicacies. His hand would occasionally caress the private parts of these women. His luck with women was truly overwhelming. Countless people in the myriad realms were envious. Looking at those concubines, they all had different temperaments. There was coldness, boldness, shyness, and elegance. When gathered together, it was truly a beautiful scene with a myriad of bearings. It was too much for one's eyes to take in, and it would probably cause any man to be mesmerized on the spot. If there were other knowledgeable experts present, they would discover that these women were all famous, peerless heavenly maidens in the world. For example, Guanghan Fairy, Qixi Fairy, Heartless Witch, Baiwa Fairy, and so on. It almost included the figures of all the heavenly ladies in the myriad realms. As expected of King Xiaoyao, the greatest desire in his heart was to take in all the heavenly ladies in the myriad realms into his harem. This wish was truly grand. However, in an instant, Di Shurtian played the second movement, the moment of evil tribulation. The expressions of the many heavenly maidens, who were originally gentle in the palace, changed drastically. Their eyes were filled with unforgettable hatred as they looked at unfettered King. King Xiaoyao, how dare you blaspheme me? You deserve to die. The heartless witch's expression instantly became as cold as iron. A light flashed in her hand, and a strange demonic blade that was so cold that it seemed to be able to completely freeze the entire world turned into a cold light and blasted toward King Xiaoyao. Wailed Devourer of the North. Unfettered King's mind was bewitched, but he was still startled and came to his senses. Seeing the heartless demonic saber slashing toward him, he didn't even think about it, and hurriedly executed the northern underworld Whale Devourer of the northern underworld heavenly change. His surroundings turned into a strange area. It was dark and deep, like the northern underworld sea that had been shrunk countless times. Any light or primordial chi that entered this area would be instantly devoured. This was his unique domain, the North Sea region. Coupled with his own cultivation method, he could devour everything. However, when a heartless demonic blade slashed in this area, an ice-cold heartless demonic chi that could make one's heart fall into despair swept across the area. Waves of ice crystals condensed in the air, about to freeze the entire North Sea region. King Xiaoyao, you have to pay a price that you can't imagine for blaspheming me. The Guanghan Fairy's expression was cold. A silver-white crescent-shaped blade appeared in her hand. The blade seemed to contain the most terrifying power of extreme yin in the world. As soon as it appeared, countless terrifying frost condensed in the air. Even the air was about to be frozen in an instant. With a wave of her hand, the moon crystal wheel, a primordial spiritual treasure, drew a dazzling divine light and slashed toward King Xiaoyao. What's going on? I was obviously fighting with that Sakra Shurtian. Why would this heartless demoness and fairy Guanghan appear here and attack this king without distinguishing between right and wrong? No, I've been tricked. This is not the outside world. This is an illusion. Powerful, powerful indeed. What a powerful piece of music. It can actually arouse the desire in my heart. What kind of music is this? I've never heard anything like it. I'm afraid that even the ninth heaven ecstasy of the Qin family is inferior to it. King Xiaoyao was completely shocked. Di Shurtian, who he had never really regarded as an opponent, suddenly became very serious. Xiao Chun thought to himself, the first section of his zither music made me unconsciously fall into an illusion, drowning me in desire. The second section actually made the illusions in my heart counterattack and attack me. Terrifying, truly terrifying. All of this flashed through his mind like a flash of lightning. Seeing the illusion formed by desire attacking him, his expression changed slightly. Oh no, these heavenly girls are all formed from my imagination. They have the most powerful strength. I'm now in an illusion. This should be my spirit. Once I'm injured or even killed by them, my spirit will dissipate. At this moment, he truly realized the terror of the divine melody of seven sins. The heartless demoness was one of the most terrifying, peerless geniuses of the demonic path in ancient times. She cultivated the heartless demonic art that she accidentally obtained. The cultivator of this art was heartless and emotionless. Her methods were cruel and callous. Her heartless demonic saber had tasted the blood of countless living beings in ancient times. It was rumored that she had stepped into the realm of peerless experts. Fortunately, the heartless witch in this illusion did not have the terrifying strength of a peerless expert. Otherwise, she could poke him to death with a finger. But she also had the combat strength of an ancient giant. In the palace, there were no less than hundreds of heavenly girls. If they attacked him together, even with Carefree King's ability, he would be killed in an instant. Black crystal divine steel, protect the spirit and suppress the evil. However, Carefree King did not panic because of this. He took a deep breath. Suddenly, a divine steel that was as black as ink and glowed like crystal emerged from the top of his head. Looking at the divine steel, countless mysterious lines intertwined to form countless profound principles. A strange aura was emitted from the divine steel. It glowed and instantly covered his entire body under the divine steel. A strange, heavenly sound faintly sounded from the divine steel. It made his spirit clear. The various desires that had arisen in his heart quickly dissipated like snowflakes in summer. Buzz! The divine steel shook, and the crystal light on the steel surged. It instantly repelled the heartless demonic saber and the moon crystal wheel. In the crystal light, countless phantoms of the divine steel quickly flew out from the steel. They exuded an ancient aura and suppressed all the heavenly girls in the palace. The terrifying thing was that all the heavenly girls did not seem to have the slightest ability to resist in front of these phantoms of the divine steel. They were smashed into pieces on the spot. Oh no, Carefree King has the black crystal divine steel. Who is this guy? How can he even have such a divine item? Quick, lunatic emperor, kill him with the heavenly punishment divine eye. Otherwise, with your incomplete 7 sins divine melody, I'm afraid you can't do anything to him. This black crystal divine steel is a supreme divine item for the cultivation of the spirit. When unfettered kings summoned the black crystal godly steel, a palm-sized phantom of a godly steel appeared above his head. It hovered above his head and spun, emitting a crystal light that protected his entire body. Countless musical notes emerged from the 7 sins demonic zither, but they were blocked by the crystal light. The musical notes violently attacked the divine steel. The divine steel kept shaking, but it could not break through the protection of the crystal light and rush into Carefree King's body. What is the black crystal divine steel? Shurkin's heart froze. He looked at the ancient divine steel with a strange light in his eyes. It could block the sound of the zither. This was the 7 sins divine melody, and even the power of the divine melody could not break it. From this, one could already feel how magical it was. Now is not the time to talk about this. Use the heavenly punishment divine eye to kill him. The black crystal divine steel can only protect the spirit and block attacks directed at the spirit. It can't block the attack with the divine eye. Ming shouted anxiously. Heavenly punishment divine eye annihilation. Between his brows, the divine eye instantly opened. A vast majestic aura immediately burst out in all directions like a tide. Streaks of purple gold divine light continuously flickered and rippled on the surface of the divine eye like flowing water. It looked at the common people indifferently. Swoosh! With a thought, a destructive annihilation divine light burst out from the divine eye. It broke through the void like lightning and bombarded Carefree King's body domineeringly. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chitian.com. I support the author. I support the original reading. Chapter 713. Whoosh, whoosh. The annihilation divine light had the most terrifying destructive power, and its power would increase as the user improved. Once the user reached the Demon Saint level, he could destroy a Lesser Thousand World with a single glance. The Lesser Thousand World would be annihilated instantly. It would turn into dust. Once the user reached the Heavenly Demon level, even the Greater Thousand World would collapse on the spot with a single glance. It would completely collapse. It was simply an overbearing divine power with pure destructive power. Wherever the divine light passed, the void would be destroyed inch by inch. In an instant, it appeared 100 feet in front of Unfettered King. However, the strange thing was that when it was 100 feet in front of him, the Northern Underworld Sea region suddenly appeared beside him. In this area, the entire void seemed to have become abnormally deep in an instant. It collapsed inwards, and all the surrounding chi of heaven and earth was crazily swallowed by it. The divine light rushed into the Northern Underworld Sea region. Immediately, it collided with the terrifying swallowing force. In the divine light, the annihilation divine light exploded. Wherever the divine light went, the entire Northern Underworld Sea region shook violently and was annihilated inch by the annihilation divine light. However, the terrifying swallowing force became stronger and stronger. Although the Northern Underworld Sea region was damaged, it recovered in an instant. The divine light of annihilation only swept for a while before a powerful swallowing force instantly bound the divine light and swallowed it in one fell swoop. Even the annihilation divine light was swallowed. Hiss! When Ming saw this, he couldn't help but gasp and cry out. Even the divine light of annihilation can't destroy the Northern Underworld Sea region. This Northern Underworld heavenly change is indeed a demonic technique created by that freak. No wonder that old guy was like a crab back then and ran rampant in ancient times. If he cultivated it to the extreme, he would be able to devour all kinds of magical powers and spells. This is not good. Unfettered King's cultivation is above yours. He also has the black crystal divine steel to protect his divine soul. The feather fan in his hand is probably a supreme treasure. Run! Now is the time to run. Seeing this scene, Ming decisively suggested to Di Shirtian. The current Unfettered King was simply invincible. Go! Di Shirtian was not inflexible. Even the Annihilation Divine Light could not do anything to Unfettered King, nor could it break through his external domain. He had already clearly realized that the gap in cultivation between him and Unfettered King was too great. This gap was no longer something that could be closed with secret techniques. He was almost an expert that he couldn't match up to now. Where there is life, there is hope. With Baihu and the others gone, he no longer had any worries. Annihilation Divine Light, break the seal for I. Without even thinking, he brushed his hand across the body of the Zither. Immediately, the 3 spiritual pearls embedded in the body of the Zither glowed with divine light at the same time. 3 waves of origin energy spread out along with the Zither music. Suddenly, the ground of the island began to shake violently like waves. Earthen yellow divine dragons emerged from the ground. At the same time, all kinds of grass, trees, and vines on the ground seemed to have been greatly stimulated. They grew crazily and became extremely aggressive. They swept toward Unfettered King with great offensive power. At the same time, countless sound blades containing the origin of gold cut the vacuum sharply. A beam of annihilation divine light shot out from the divine eye and blasted toward the top of his head. Rumble! The annihilation divine light was extremely domineering. Although it could not do anything to the Northern Underworld Sea outside Unfettered King, the seal outside was instantly pierced through like bubbles in front of the annihilation divine light. It blasted a large hole in the void above the island. You want to leave? Stay here. However, just as Sakura was about to drive the numinous sky thrown under him to escape from that big hole, Sakura suddenly appeared. An indifferent voice suddenly reverberated in the air above the island. Unfettered King opened his eyes and stood quietly on the back of the Kuan Peng under his feet. He was surrounded by the Northern Underworld Sea. All attacks that entered this area were swallowed up like whales. He waved the feather fan in his hand casually at D. Chertion, who was about to escape. How? A ball of crimson flame shot out from the feather fan and quickly condensed into a lifelike, giant vermilion bird. The vermilion bird screeched and directly charged toward D. Chertion. Rumble. The vermilion bird was extremely fast. It crossed the void and appeared in front of D. Chertion. It fiercely slammed into the soaring sky throne. With a loud boom, the entire vermilion bird exploded violently. Countless violent vermilion bird divine flames erupted in an instant, burning the entire void and causing it to collapse and turn into nothingness. It caused the entire space to collapse completely. The domineering power of the vermilion bird divine flames was completely released, as if it was going to burn everything. That power was something that even the ancient giants could not withstand. Bang! The countless seals on the soaring sky throne were instantly destroyed by the vermilion bird divine flames. It was the first to bear the brunt of the vermilion bird's self-explosion and exploded on the spot. Spiritual pearl protection. Poof! The soaring sky throne exploded. The violent impact instantly blasted onto D. Chertion's body. He spat out a mouthful of purplish gold blood. However, his mind was unusually calm. Without thinking, he plucked the strings of the guqin. Instantly, the origin energy of the golden spiritual pearl landed on his body. On the spot, a layer of golden light condensed around his body. His physical body became many times stronger and turned into an invincible Vajra body. Outside his body, a yellow shield formed out of thin air. Countless ancient patterns appeared on the shield, exuding a heavy aura. At the same time, a green light entered his body. A strong vitality instantly filled his body and quickly healed his injuries. Boom! The vermilion bird divine flames erupted completely. The crimson divine flames enveloped the entire island in an instant. The soaring flames almost turned the island into a sea of fire. The flowers, plants, and trees on the island were burned to ashes in an instant. Freedom King stepped on the Kuan Pong and looked at the burning vermilion bird divine flames with a calm expression. In the Kuan Peng's eyes, there was a strong sense of sadness. Oomph. At this moment, in the endless void, a cold snort suddenly sounded. The voice said coldly, "You dare to kill the demon emperor of the demon clan. Do you really think that the demon clan is weak and easy to bully? If we old guys don't do anything, you really think that we don't exist? Come, cudgel." Out of nowhere, a voice filled with anger sounded. Boom! The moment the voice sounded, in the sky above the island, a dazzling golden divine pillar suddenly came crashing down toward King Xiaoyao from the void. In the cudgel, there was a domineering aura. It was not a divine pillar, but a golden cudgel. The cudgel came crashing down on his head. This cudgel seemed to have a strange trajectory. It made people watch as it came crashing down, but there was no way to dodge it. Who is it? Freedom King's indifferent expression changed abruptly. Under this golden staff, he could feel the aura of death. It was as if the surrounding void had been completely sealed by the cudgel. If the cudgel struck down, it would shatter the void. If the void was shattered, it would destroy the person inside as well. Without thinking, he activated the northern underworld heavenly change to the maximum. He waved the feather fan in his hand. Suddenly, the golden true sun fire condensed into a three-legged golden crow and rushed toward the cudgel. Bang! However, the three-legged golden crow that could burn an ancient giant into ashes was destroyed on the spot. It smashed unstoppably on Freedom King's body. Puff! Instantly, Freedom King's entire body was sent flying backwards like a rubber ball. He vomited mouthfuls of blood, and his eyes were filled with horror. Even the northern underworld sea region could not completely swallow that terrifying power. When it landed on his body, he was severely injured. Freedom King was horrified. He could not help but roar crazily. Impossible! Aren't the peerless experts restricted by the ruler's order? Are you not afraid of the ruler's order? Bang! However, his words did not cause the golden club to stop at all. Instead, it smashed towards him again, smashing him into the ground. With a boom, he was smashed into the ground. Another sweep. Golden light instantly enveloped the island. All the vermilion bird divine fire quickly dissipated. What a terrifying vermilion bird divine fire. Shirtian's body appeared. Countless cracks appeared all over his body. He spat out mouthfuls of blood. His face was abnormally pale. Oof. However, the moment he appeared, a pitch-black finger with boundless killing intent emerged from the top of his head and poked at Shirtian. When this finger came down, it was as if the entire world was collapsing on top of his head. It poked Shirtian's body at an unbelievably slow speed. Crack! An unstoppable and terrifying power poured down on his body. The unimaginable, baleful power caused countless hideous and terrifying cracks to appear on the Sakra's treasured body on the spot. It was like broken porcelain. It was a ghastly sight. It was as if he would completely collapse at any moment. At the same time, a deep crack appeared in the void behind Shirtian. In the face of this terrifying force, his entire body did not have the slightest ability to resist, and he was involuntarily thrown into the crack. Bang! The moment Shirtian fell into the crack, a pitch-black chain crossed the void and appeared out of nowhere. It was about to wrap around Shirtian. However, a finger suddenly tapped on the chain. In the void, the golden cudgel smashed towards the finger. Another pitch-black saber appeared out of nowhere and blocked the cudgel. Damn it, you actually banished the demon emperor of the demon clan. In just a short moment, the crack had completely healed. Shirtian's body had completely disappeared. A voice with a hint of coldness and suppressed anger was heard. You've gone too far. The golden cudgel, with boundless fighting intent, shook violently and tore open the void, tearing a terrible crack. It went straight in. On the other side of the crack, it was filled with rich chi of heaven and earth. It seemed as if countless immortals were shuttling back and forth in the sky. The various auras made it seem like a paradise. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 714. Heaven Realm. A golden rod broke through the air and swayed in the wind. It became tens of thousands of feet long and smashed down toward a bustling ancient city in the Heaven Realm. As the cudgel fell, the countless restrictions in the ancient city were instantly destroyed, and the cudgel landed solidly on the ancient city. Rumble. Bursts of rumbling sounds, along with countless screams, instantly spread into the void. With one strike, half of the ancient city collapsed. Countless cultivators were smashed into meat paste and died on the spot. The cudgel flew into the air again and flew into the distance. For a time, only terrifying rumbling sounds could be heard coming from various places in the Heaven Realm. The entire Heaven Realm shook as if it was about to completely collapse. In just an instant, countless ears rushed out of the Heaven Realm and quickly fled in all directions. All kinds of information quickly spread to all places. Oh no! A golden stick came out of nowhere and smashed one of the oldest cities in the Heaven Realm, the ancient city of pilgrimage. Half of the city collapsed. There were countless casualties in the ancient city. Even the emperor-level masters were killed. I heard that one of the ancient giants might have fallen under the attack of that stick. Smashed them into minced meat. Big news. That golden staff flew to the righteous peak where the righteous sect was located. With one swing of the staff, it was about to collapse the righteous peak. However, an iron scroll rushed out from the righteous sect and blocked the attack. The righteous peak shook and many of the sect's disciples were killed. Quickly spread the news. That golden rod ran to the immortal imperial dynasty's capital again. The 10,000 dragons' holy pilgrimage blocked the attack. However, the entire imperial capital was shaken by the confrontation. He smashed a hole in the sky. Heavens, he's running amok. He's really running amok. He actually smashed all the major sects in the heaven realm. However, what's that token that suddenly appeared? That token was truly terrifying. When it appeared, its pressure actually caused all the cultivators in the entire heaven realm to kneel down. Just the pressure alone was enough to blast that stick out of the heaven realm. A game. This must be a game between the peerless experts. On the spot, all kinds of news spread in all directions like a tide. Every piece of news caused the various worlds, the various greater thousand worlds, and even the countless lesser thousand worlds to tremble violently in shock. Who knew how many experts were secretly terrified? The hidden meaning that was revealed faintly couldn't be hidden from the experts who were truly at the top. Almost instantly, all the major forces and sects smelled the scent. The demon race indeed has an ancient demon god that hasn't fallen. Who's the one with the golden rod? What on earth is going on? How could it awaken these ancient demon gods that should have been asleep? Could it be that some idiot wants to completely destroy the foundation of the demon race? He wanted to wipe out the entire Yao clan. Otherwise, why would this kind of old fellow be alarmed? Ignoring the restrictions of the sovereign's decree, you dare to act so recklessly. The demon races, the demon races, demons is demon race. Back in the ancient times, the demon race was at its peak. They had 36 ancient demon gods. I wonder how many of them are still alive. If the demon race's primogenitors were still alive, they would be at the peak of the peerless experts. If they were to awaken, the entire heaven realm would be turned upside down. For a moment, in the heaven realm, many noble existences who stood at the peak of the world began to ponder. A single stick stirred up the entire heavens and myriad realms. Bang! In the endless void, countless terrifying cracks appeared on the island that was in the middle of the battle at a speed visible to the naked eye. In an instant, they spread to all the areas densely. Like a broken mirror, with a loud bang, the island collapsed inch by inch, turning into pieces of gravel that were swept into the endless void. They turned into a meteor stream. Puff! Under the collapse of the island, the originally extraordinary Freedom King rushed out with a pale face. He spat out several mouthfuls of essence blood. The flat imperial crown on his head was beaten to an unknown place. His hair was disheveled, and he looked like a mess. He continuously coughed up blood and pointed at the void with a flustered and exasperated expression. He cursed, "Old man, I'm also a peerless expert. When I become a peerless expert, I'll definitely get back at you for what you did to me today. Fortunately, I'm wearing the Khanate spiritual treasure, the northern underworld heavenly robe. Otherwise, I would have been smashed to death by that rod." There is no need to say how angry Freedom King was. Originally, he was only dealing with a demon emperor whose cultivation was only at the 9th transformation stage of the demon core. His strength, with the enhancement of the return to void mask, could only reach the demon saint level. Against him, with his peerless strength, even if D. Shurtion had all kinds of peerless divine powers, under the difference of their realms, he could still easily kill him. Who would have thought that at the last moment, he would provoke the hidden demon god of the demon race? He was almost smashed to death by that rod. Now, it seemed that even his mount, the Kuan Pung, had been taken away. This was simply a double loss for them. He could not vent the anger in his heart, and his face kept twitching. Humph! The land of exile. That's good. Few who enter the land of exile can come out. Wait until I recover, then I'll make a trip to the demon city. Freedom King took a deep breath, waved his long sleeve, and tore a crack in the void. He turned and entered the crack, disappearing. The land of exile. This was a strange world. In the air, there were all kinds of primordial chi and all kinds of boundless evil chi. In the air, one could clearly see wisps of condensed blood-red, killing intent. In this place, all kinds of primordial chi could be seen. Demonic chi, evil chi, 5 elements chi, yin-yang force, dragon chi, sea serpent chi, poison chi, miasma chi. In all the heavens and realms, all kinds of primordial chi could be clearly felt in the air. Moreover, it was unusually rich. It was different from the acquired primordial chi that permeated the purple gold mainland. The primordial chi here was actually emitting a strange connate chi. It was full of spirituality, a place with all kinds of primordial chi, and connate primordial chi was definitely a cultivation treasure land that countless people in all the heavens and realms dreamed of. However, at a glance, the ground was covered with all kinds of corpses. Flowers, plants, and trees were rooted on the corpses, and they grew very thick. The continuous mountain range stretched as far as the eye could see. In the sky, a strange black sun hung in the void. It emitted an endless amount of 9 underworld's demonic chi, which spat out and covered the whole world. It filled the world with a vast amount of demonic chi. In front of the demonic chi, other primordial chi were not worth a single thing. Bang! In a wasteland, a crack appeared out of nowhere, and a figure fell from the crack, smashing down from a height of 3 feet. The surface of the figure was like a broken ceramic, and his skin was covered with hideous and terrifying cracks. They were densely packed, and they covered his entire body. Even his face was covered with the same cracks. It was unusually scary. Traces of blood seeped out from the cracks. Puff! Tian looked at the scene around him. His body was unable to fly and was instantly bound by an invisible force, falling straight to the ground. However, he did not panic because of this unforeseen event. He turned his body, bent his legs slightly, and landed on the ground with a bang. A wave of impact hit his body. On the spot, it affected the injuries in his body, and he spat out a mouthful of purple gold blood. Unparalleled expert. This is the strength of an unparalleled expert. I didn't even have the strength to resist. Strength. This is the difference in strength. Tian took a deep breath, and the previous scenes flashed through his mind like a flash of lightning. The short exchange with the carefree king, the sudden appearance of the golden staff, and the pitch-black finger at the end. He even suffered heavy injuries without being able to resist. In his heart, he had a clear understanding of the strength of the true ancient giants, and even the unparalleled experts. I have to break through as soon as possible. The 9th transformation of the Yaodan is too weak for those experts. Secret techniques can't be relied on. Once I reach the demon saint level, I won't have the ability to condense my cultivation and instantly increase it. I can only use it as a battle technique. He secretly made up his mind. However, the bursts of pain coming from all over his body woke him up from his thoughts. Looking at his current injuries, he could not help but smile bitterly. That finger, not only did it penetrate the 3 spiritual pearls around him, but also caused countless terrifying cracks to appear on his treasured body. Not only his treasured body, but even the bones in his body were full of cracks, and his internal organs were severely damaged. His injuries were so serious that they could not be any worse. If not for his demonic body, which was only a step away from an immortal body, he would have collapsed on the spot. Thinking of his injuries, although he did not know where he was, finding a place to heal his injuries was the most important thing. As he scanned his surroundings, he saw that he was in a plain, and a terrifying wolf howl pierced his ears. That howl carried a ferocious and bloody aura. A pitch-black figure quickly ran over from afar. With Sakra's sharp gaze, he instantly saw clearly that it was actually a beast with 2 heads, and its entire body was pitch black. Its spine was narrow, and its back was arched, causing it to seem like a pitch-black, devilish blade. The 2 pairs of eyes were filled with a brutal, bloody light. Oh no, it's the 2-headed demonic wolf from the demon god continent. Dark exclaimed in surprise. Tian took a deep breath and twisted his wrist. With a clang, he instantly pulled out the tiger soul from his back. With a thought, he was about to activate his cultivation technique and infuse the remaining royal true force into the blade. However, as soon as he activated his cultivation technique, a trace of shock appeared in his mind. What's going on? My true force is unable to leave my body and infuse into the tiger soul. Although he was shocked, he did not hesitate in the slightest. Seeing that the two-headed demonic wolf was pouncing towards him from hundreds of feet away, he took a step forward, bent his legs, and squatted down. At the same time, he raised the tiger soul, and the blade slashed straight at the demonic wolf's abdomen. It's hard to convince everyone. To be continued. If you want to know what happened next, please go to www.chijian.com to read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 715. Under the tempering of the Wuji illusory land, Di Shirtian's combat skills had reached a level where he could wield them with a wave of his arm. Even without the support of the Royal True Force, a casual wave of his sword was extremely powerful. From the moment the demonic wolf pounced to the moment the tiger soul was wielded, it only took a blink of an eye. The speed of the saber was so fast that the demonic wolf did not have any chance to dodge. Crack! The tiger soul itself had endless sharpness. The sharpness of the saber could even break a divine weapon. The saber slashed across the demonic wolf's abdomen at lightning speed. Demonic blood gushed out from the wound. The demonic wolf's body was cut into two halves. There was a strong demonic nature in the demonic blood. If it came into contact with the demonic blood, there was a possibility that one would turn into a demon. Di Shirtian moved his feet and dodged to the side. Puff! This action affected the injuries in his body. The cracks on the treasure body became even more sinister and terrifying, as if it would shatter at any moment. His body trembled violently, and he could not help but spit out a mouthful of blood. I have to leave this place quickly. Sakura quickly scanned the surroundings. In the east, there was a dense forest. He didn't even think about it, and quickly rushed forward. With the fastest speed that his body could sustain, he left this desolate land. In a few breaths' time, he rushed into the dense forest. Under his feet, he could see all kinds of wreckage. Sometimes, when he stepped on them, the wreckage would break. He randomly found a towering ancient tree and extended the tiger soul. In a few moves, he dug a hole in the tree and quickly entered it. He sealed the hole and tried his best to conceal his aura. Oh, indeed, after he left, thousands of demonic wolves rushed over from all directions and gathered around the demonic wolf that was cut into two halves. Their eyes were filled with cruelty. They howled a few times and pounced on the demonic wolf. In an instant, they carved up the demonic wolf's flesh and chewed it. Bang! 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 From afar, there were terrifying rumbles coming from the ground. The earth shook and the mountains shook. A 300 feet tall giant with bronze skin strode over from afar. In the blink of an eye, he arrived at the wasteland and saw thousands of demonic wolves. He raised his leg and stomped down, causing a terrifying sound to ring out. A large number of demonic wolves were trampled into meat paste on the spot. The rest of the demonic wolves immediately fled in all directions. There was a crack here just now. It looks like there's another newcomer who was exiled here. He didn't expect him to leave so quickly. It seemed that this newcomer wasn't simple. Let's see if he can hold on. He just didn't know which race had been sent here. I don't know when this damn place will end. The Cyclops glanced around, paused for a moment, then turned and left. After that, quite a few other exiles who had obviously been in the area rushed over from afar. When they ran into each other, they looked on warily. After a few glances, they left, as if they had guessed that more exiles had entered the area. Oh no, Lunatic D, I'm afraid we've fallen into the legendary land of exile. After Di Shirtian dug a hole in the tree and hid himself, Ming remained silent for a long time before she spoke. There was a hint of bitterness in Ming's tone. The land of exile? When Sakura heard this name, he couldn't help but quickly ponder in his mind. He muttered, "Just now I felt that the royal true power in my body seemed to be under some strange restriction. It was actually bound in my physical body. There's no way to pour it into the tiger soul. Furthermore, there's no way to fly in the air. The 9 underworld's demonic chi is extremely dense in the world. Even the demonic beasts of the demonic god continent appear here. Could all of this have something to do with this land of exile?" Earlier, when Xiao Chun faced the demonic wolves, he had sensed the difference and the various restrictions on his body after a short battle. The changes in the spiritual energy of the world outside. All sorts of situations instantly entered his mind. Lunatic D, this matter is extraordinarily bad. Damn it, that old fellow is really ruthless. He actually exiled you here. He clearly does not want you to return to the various worlds. I want to banish you for all eternity. Ming gnashed her teeth and shouted with a fierce expression. The land of exile was terrifying. Even with her experience, she could feel how terrifying it was. As Di Shirtian listened carefully, the light in his eyes became deeper and deeper. There was a deep sense of anger and fury hidden in it. However, she did not say it out loud. Instead, she buried it deep in her heart. The land of exile. As long as one knew the name of this place, their expression would change greatly when they heard it in the myriad of worlds. Even the ancient powerhouses would be shocked. The land of exile did not belong to the source continent, nor the demonic god continent. Legend had it that it existed between the two continents. It was a strange world that evolved from a piece of chaos fragment. It was independent of the two continents. The rules of the two worlds could not restrain the land of exile at all. However, the strange thing was that the land of exile seemed to have some sort of connection with the other two heavens and earth. It was very strange. The reason why the experts of the various worlds were shocked when they talked about the land of exile was that the land of exile could be said to be an invisible prison that could only be entered but not exited. Moreover, the land of exile was shrouded in a strange rule. Once one entered the land of exile, it was impossible to use one's cultivation to fly in the air. It was almost impossible to fly in the air. At the same time, the cultivation and spiritual power in one's body would be imprisoned in one's body and could not be infused into any weapons. It was even more impossible to use spells or superpowers. The only thing that could be used was one's own body. Moreover, the Yuan Qi in the land of exile was filled with strange power. It was impossible to refine it when it was absorbed into one's body. Instead, it would cause one to fall into a terrifying state of madness and go mad. Although the world was filled with all kinds of connate Yuan Qi, no one dared to directly absorb it. Once the spiritual power in one's body was depleted, it was not easy to replenish it. One could not even fly in the air here. Moreover, the space barrier was extremely tough and unimaginably solid. It was easy to break it from the outside, but it was almost impossible to break the space barrier from the inside without the strength of an ancient powerhouse. Even ancient powerhouse might not be able to break it open. This place was an eternal land of exile, an eternal cage. Once one entered, it was simply a ridiculous, extravagant hope to get out. One might not even be able to survive here. Nether paused for a moment before she continued in a heavy tone. The most terrifying thing is that cultivators from the quintessence world aren't the only ones who have been exiled in the land of exile. A large number of fiend gods and magical beasts have been exiled on the fiend god continent as well, especially the magical beasts. Their reproductive ability is terrifying. I'm afraid countless magical beast clans have taken root in the land of exile. The laws here are extremely cruel. They fight the heavens, the earth, the fiend gods, and the magical beasts. It was unknown how many experts had died here. You can guess this by looking at the corpses on the ground. Di Shirtian's expression was solemn. When he thought of the ground covered with all kinds of corpses along the way, his heart couldn't help but tremble. He could feel the tragic place. In this place, the rule of survival of the fittest was absolutely extreme. It is said that the sun here has two types of transformations. During the day, it is a blood moon from which a large amount of connate Yuan Qi is poured in. During the night, it is a black sun which spits out endless 9 underworld demonic Qi. During the night, it is the most dangerous time. At this time, Ming did not hide anything. He opened his mouth and told Di Shirtian everything he knew, increasing his chances of survival in this place. Also, lunatic D, try probing the void with your demonic consciousness, Ming said with unusual caution. Without hesitation, Di Shirtian believed that Ming would not harm him. Disregarding the serious injuries he had suffered, He probed the void with his demonic consciousness. Swoosh. At the same time, it seemed to have triggered some rule. A mysterious force instantly descended. In front of him, a crystal-like spirit tablet strangely condensed. It was only the size of a palm. On the crystal jade tablet, a number appeared. Lifespan, 100,000. What is this? Is it replacing my lifespan? Tian looked at the crystal tablet and couldn't help but frown. He thought to himself, since I became a great ancient demon, my lifespan is almost endless. As long as I'm not killed by others, it is possible for me to live as long as the heavens and earth. How can I only have 100,000 years of lifespan? When he realized that what was in front of him could be his lifespan, he felt a sense of strangeness and fear towards this place of exile. I once heard my master, the Emperor of the Dead, say that every exile who enters this place of exile will condense a natal heaven tablet according to the rules of this place of exile. This natal heaven tablet is the symbol of identity in this place of exile. As for the details, even I don't know. However, this natal heaven tablet must be extremely important. Ming shook his head and said, I can feel that if this natal heaven tablet breaks, a great terror will descend upon me. Tian took a deep breath and looked at the natal heaven tablet in front of him cautiously. He carefully put away the natal heaven tablet and directly put it into his body. Only then did he put all his other thoughts aside and began to truly examine his injuries. This examination had already reached a terrifying state. If it was an ordinary injury, with the powerful healing ability of his treasure body, it would have healed on the surface by now. What was truly frightening about this injury was that there was a frightening, baleful force within the cracks and wounds. This baleful force had completely cut off one's recovery ability. Moreover, it was continuously destroying one's physical body. If he didn't get rid of this evil force, his injuries would never heal and would become more and more serious, until his physical body collapsed. The fiendish energy was like a bone-chomping worm that wanted to kill him. It's hard to please everyone. I've been reading the book reviews recently, and I can accept any problems with the writing. I've also tried my best to avoid nagging and keep the content concise. However, there are some book reviews that I don't know whether to laugh or cry. If the protagonist's life is smooth sailing, then some people say that it's too smooth sailing. If those peerless geniuses don't have the strength, then when they encounter some setbacks, they'll just torment the protagonist. Regarding these, I can only say that writing a book is like writing a life. It's impossible for it to be smooth sailing forever, and it's impossible for it to be full of setbacks. It's hard to please everyone. I don't want to say more. I will just write according to the original idea. In terms of the plot, I won't change it easily. To be continued. If you want to know the future, please go to www.chidian.com. There are more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. Chapter 716. Closing his eyes, he circulated the remaining royal true power in his body. The purplish gold royal true power quickly circulated along the demon meridians in his body. Following the countless branches of the demon meridians, it merged into his flesh and blood to nourish his broken treasure body. However, as soon as it entered his body, a pitch-black, baleful force emerged from his flesh and blood and collided with the royal true power. That strand of baleful force transformed into a pitch-black, baleful spirit, brandishing a baleful blade and pouncing towards him with bared fangs and claws. In an instant, the royal true power transformed into an emperor wearing a purplish gold robe. In his hand, he held a jade seal that was filled with emperor chi. A tyrannical seal smashed towards the baleful spirit. This exchange actually took a full 15 minutes. Although the baleful spirit formed by the baleful force did not look big, it was unusually condensed. The quality of the baleful force was unbelievably high and had a strong corrosive power. It was unusually stubborn. Even though Di Tian had the royal true power in his body, it still took him a full 15 minutes to disperse the baleful force. The true power quickly entered his flesh and blood, causing the deathly still flesh and blood to surge with a huge amount of vitality. One could see that on the treasure body, there was a crack that was not damaged by the baleful force. It was healing at a speed that was visible to the naked eye. In the blink of an eye, it was completely healed. A sparkling treasure light was circulating on it. This baleful force is actually so difficult to deal with. It's like a parasite. Now that I am in the banished land, I am unable to absorb the heaven and earth essence chi from the outside. The true power that is consumed cannot be recovered. After expelling the baleful force, Di Tian could not help but open his eyes. Just one strand of baleful force took him no less than 15 minutes to get rid of it. Now his entire body was filled with baleful force. It was not just 1,000 strands, but tens of thousands. It was distributed to every inch of his flesh and blood. If he were to rely on himself to get rid of it, he would need to spend hundreds of years to get rid of it. Most importantly, Ming had said that the energy of the heavens and the earth in the world of exile was utterly impossible to absorb directly into his body. Otherwise, it would cause his imperial true energy to go berserk, and once it went berserk, his entire body would probably collapse on the spot. If he was unable to absorb the heaven and earth origin chi, then if he wanted to recover his true power, he would have to rely on his cultivation technique to transport it over and over again. Who knew how long it would take for him to completely recover? However, it was not that there was no other way. Relying on pills, or even spirit wine, all kinds of heaven and earth spirit herbs, it could allow one's true power to recover quickly. The heavenly elemental pellet is a sacred item for cultivation. However, the majority of them are stored in the royal heavenly treasury. Excluding the ones I used during this period of time, I don't even have 3 million heavenly elemental pellets with me. Once it was used up, it would really be gone. He had to plan carefully. There was also spirit wine. He still had 1,000 source of life left. These will be the things I can rely on to establish myself in the exiled lands. Di Tian secretly estimated all the items he had on him that could be used. In an abandoned land like this, where one could not even absorb the heaven and earth yuan chi, every heavenly yuan pill could save one's life at a critical moment. It was extremely precious. He secretly calculated all the things he had on him in his mind. A trace of determination flashed across his heart. He extended his hand and took out a snow-white jade box from his inner world. He carefully opened the jade box. Inside the jade box, there were 10 jade green source of life. He took out one source of life from the jade box and carefully closed the jade box. He put it back into his inner world. Without any hesitation, he directly opened his mouth and swallowed the source of life. Fine. A vast amount of source of life immediately gushed out from his body and spread out through his pores. It formed a thick jade-green fog that enveloped his entire body in this huge amount of life essence. The sun rose and set. The sun in the exiled lands turned from black to red and from red to black. It had cycled 3 times in total. The black sun represented the night, and the blood sun represented the day. The 3 cycles meant that 3 days had passed here. Whoosh! In the tree hole, the jade-green fog rolled violently with a long exhalation sound. It was quickly absorbed into his body through his pores. In the blink of an eye, it was swallowed into his body. Swoosh! When he opened his eyes, a resplendent radiance shot out to a distance of 3 zhong. It pierced 2 big holes in the tree hole that he was hiding in. In the blink of an eye, the terrifying cracks on his face and body had completely disappeared. His entire precious body was emitting waves of precious light. The bones in his body had also been mended. In his flesh, it was as pure as a whole. There was a strong force moving through every inch of his flesh. Inside the 9th tier Black Lotus in the Spirit Demon Palace, waves after waves of pure royal true power flowed like spring water. Not only did it recover his true power, but it also allowed him to take another step forward. The royal true power in the Black Lotus had already occupied 1/5 of the entire Black Lotus. Waves after waves of powerful true power shuttled back and forth in his flesh. Under the miraculous power of the source of life, the injuries on his body had completely disappeared. He had even reached an unprecedented peak state. Swoosh! With a thought, a light flashed in his hand. One could see that the natal heaven tablet was instantly condensed in front of him. 99,997. A number appeared on the natal heaven tablet. This scene made Tion slightly shocked. He thought to himself, if the number on this natal heaven tablet represents my lifespan, then the decreasing number should be my lifespan decreasing. However, I have only spent 3 days here. How can my lifespan decrease by 3 years? Could it be that one day in this banished land will consume 1 year of my lifespan? He could vaguely feel that his lifespan seemed to be decreasing. It seems that I need to quickly explore the banished land. However, before that, I need to carefully experiment. Tion looked at the decreasing number on the natal heaven tablet, and an invisible pressure appeared in his heart. The banished land, to him, was definitely a strange place that he did not know anything about. Moreover, just by looking at the natal heaven tablet, he could feel how cruel it was to survive in this world. Taking a deep breath, Tion sat down cross-legged again. With a thought, he activated the Emperor Shocking World Book and began to absorb the vast connate vital qi that existed in the world around him. Although Ming had said that the vital qi of heaven and earth could not be absorbed directly in this world, once it entered the body, it would become abnormally violent. Not only could it not be refined into one's own spiritual power, but it would also cause harm to one's body. However, he did not believe Ming's explanation so easily. He wanted to try it himself. Using the power of the Emperor Shocking World Book, the vital qi of heaven and earth around him immediately rushed into his body through his pores like a tide, as if it was a pervert who had seen a beautiful woman. However, Tion was still cautious. He only wanted to test the vital qi of heaven and earth in the banished land. He did not intend to absorb it wantonly. After absorbing the connate vital qi into his body, he immediately sealed his pores and prevented the vital qi of heaven and earth from entering his body. Looking at his body, the colorful Xiantian Yuan qi rushed into his flesh and blood. It immediately became abnormally violent and began to destroy wantonly. When it rushed into the demon vein, it did not fuse with the royal true force at all. Instead, it fiercely collided with each other. A violent and strange thought directly rushed into his mind and into his mind. Once this thought entered, he was afraid that he would completely explode on the spot. Tion was already mentally prepared for this. When he sensed the change, he did not panic. He shouted in his heart, "Heavenly demon mansion, demon refining cauldron, let me devour the strange power. Jade cauldron 9 revolutions, refine the vital qi." Buzz! With a thought, the body of the demon refining cauldron, which was suppressing everything in the demon mansion, suddenly shook and let out a clear sonic boom. The cauldron instantly emitted a mysterious, devouring force. It spread out from the demon mansion and quickly swept through the flesh and blood of all the demon veins in his body. Everywhere it went, he saw that the connate vital qi that was about to go completely berserk was pulled away from his body and demon veins by the strange, devouring power emitted by the demon refining cauldron. It was bound and swept into the demon mansion. In an instant, colorful connate vital qi emerged from all directions in the demon mansion. It was very beautiful. However, in the blink of an eye, it was all devoured by the demon refining cauldron. The cauldron was empty. The pure vital qi that was originally accumulated had been completely absorbed. Only a 9th grade Black Lotus was spinning on top of it. Boom, boom, boom. After the demon refining cauldron absorbed all the connate vital qi from the outside world into the cauldron, it immediately began to spin. On the cauldron, countless mysterious cauldron inscriptions flew out and rushed into the cauldron. There seemed to be a strange power that constantly shuttled through the connate vital chi. Although he did not know what was going on, after each shuttling through the connate vital chi, the violent will and the vital chi would strangely weaken a lot. After the demon refining cauldron 9 revolutions. In the cauldron, the colorful connate vital chi had its violent will wiped out and turned into the purest and most original connate vital chi. No, looking at the vital chi in the cauldron that had already turned into liquid, it should now be called connate liquid. It was colorful and had any attribute, but it could be absorbed and transformed by any cultivation method. It can refine all kinds of vital chi in the world and refine them into the purest and most gentle energy for absorption. This is the key to the heavenly demon mansion's power. Di Shirtian's heart flashed with joy. The heavenly demon mansion was the reason why countless experts of the demon clan yearned for it. It was indeed the ability to refine any kind of vital chi in the world. With the demon refining cauldron, he could freely absorb the vital chi in the banished land that others could not absorb. The banished land would not be able to restrict his cultivation progress. Moreover, the banished land was filled with connate vital chi. The vital chi was abnormally abundant. The energy absorbed and transformed in just a moment was something that could only be obtained in the outside world for at least a day. As long as he could absorb it, the speed of his cultivation in the banished land would be immeasurable. To be continued, if you want to know what happens next, please go to www.chidian.com and read more chapters. Support the author. Support the original reading. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.